right, Ed and I would like to welcome everyone to October 9th meeting. Just a reminder, this is the 21st Century Commission meeting, and it is a public forum, so it is a private meeting that's held in public. We do invite people from the audience if they, people from the public to be part of our audience if they would like to come. Okay, so what we're going to do is, we haven't met in a few weeks, so we'll start off with any questions we've received from the public forum and from the website. So, the review of the public forum. We're going to start there. So we had our last public forum that we will hold, and that was at the end of September. Any feedback on that? Anybody have anything they want to share? Weren't as many people as I had hoped. I thought that maybe there would be more people. There were some carryover people that had been at the first forum, but there weren't a lot of new people. So, we did our job by offering the two forums, and, if anybody has any information, we did not get any questions in writing from that particular forum. We do have more questions from the website, though.
Yeah, I don't think we've received any questions in writing anywhere from anyone. No. Does anyone have any that they've collected? Or anyone given? Okay. So we have another pile of the online
I did
forum.
get one phone call from a mom who was concerned, and I mean, obviously there's a lot of different angles on different things, but she has children that go to Allendale, one child that goes to Allendale and one child that goes to West Middle, and she was concerned about the redrawing of the lines for transition for her child that is at Allendale. It has some special needs. And what I had said to her, and I think to any parent, is there are going to be children that are affected no matter what, if any of the plans are accepted. There is going to be transition for lots of children. So I did listen to what she had to say, and I did mention, because her child has special needs, that she may want to contact, when she sits at her CSE meeting, she may want to bring that up for some different things that they might be able to implement into her child's IEP. The other thing that I think that we haven't really talked about that I think is important for every plan that we have is some type of a transition plan. For all of the kids, regardless of where they are from building A, B, C, or D, we need to have some type of a transition plan in place. And we may not have that together at this point, but I think that that's something that we could recommend to the Board of Education, regardless of what plan it is. There needs to be some thought through for a transition plan for any of the youngsters that may at some point be.
Yeah, and maybe they can, get input from the committee of parents or something.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so Ed and I are going to do the questions received from the website, and what we'll do again is we will give the first name of the person along with. You
want to hand it out?
I already did.
Oh,
Yep.
everybody has a copy?
Yep. The first name of the person, and then. We'll give the information about the children and so forth.
Yes.
So we're going to start with the small packet first.
These are oldest and newest.
Okay. So we'll go oldest to newest. Okay. All right. So the first question is from Frank. He has 3 children: Potters Road, West Middle, and West Senior. I have a question or comment regarding district finances. My question or comment is, who gets the questions about finances? And that would be Mr. Schultz in the business office. He's the district treasurer, along with Jan Lewandowski, who is the
She also works in the business.
computer finance specialist in that office. I have a question or comment regarding district student enrollment. My question or comment is, who gets this question about enrollment? And that would be Mr. Graham. Mr. Graham is the Assistant Superintendent of Pupil Personnel, and his office deals with enrollment. I have a question or comment regarding student capacity with our school buildings. My question or comment is, who gets this question about student capacity? That would be Mr. Farr / Mr. Farr is our Buildings and Grounds Superintendent / Mr. Graham. Again, Assistant Superintendent of Pupil Personnel. Again, if you remember, Mr. Farr has that special formula from the state. It's not a formula that is something that we made up. It's a formula that comes from the state that does that. I have a question or comment regarding middle school grade configuration. My question or comment is, who gets this question about grade configuration?
I think
Mrs.
Ann Botticelli.
Yep. Ann Bonicelli, Mrs. Bonicelli. She is the Assistant Superintendent in charge of curriculum. Okay. I have a question or comment regarding the benefits of academic and/or extracurricular programming. My question or comment is, who gets questions about programming? Mrs. Bonicelli. I have a question or comment regarding district transportation. My question or comment is, who gets this question about transportation? That would be twofold, Mr. Graham, and then Mr. Love. But Mr. Graham oversees the transportation also. My question or comment is related to a different topic. Here is my question or comment. Who gets a question about a different topic?
So it would just be.
It would probably
either
depend
this
on what it was,
commission
yeah.
Or those experts.
Yeah, it would really depend on what it was. Okay, so that answers the first page, so we know who our people are that we're sending any specific questions to. Yeah, that'd be great.
All right. Next one is from Kim. The building her kids are in, or one child, Clinton Street. I have a question or comment regarding middle school grade configuration. My question or comment is, I really do not like 5 through 8 grade in the same building. My child was in daycare over the summer with some now middle school kids. He came home asking me what things like douchebag and other expletives meant. When I asked who said these things, it was always a middle school child. Ideally, K through 6 in the same building would be great. That's how it was when I went to Allendale, West Middle, and West Senior. I know that won't happen, so please consider 5 through 6 and 7 through 8 in separate buildings.
I think we would just like to thank him for her comment.
Excellent. Next one is from Todd. 2 children attending schools, West Elementary. My question or comment is related to a different topic. Here's my question or comment. I think Allendale Elementary should be closed. The district offices moved from West L. Potter Road sold to the highest bidder for more hotels, and West Elementary made full capacity, filling all the newly created classrooms from moving the district offices. Move the east-west line back around Union Road. That is we'll take that when we, subcommittee, Brian, you guys have a copy of that?
Yep.
If you want to kind of look at similar what we have and not have, and then you guys can kind of run it as a outside proposal?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, next question, or next person, Tony. One child attending school, East Senior. My question or comment regarding district transportation. My question or comment is, why do we have first student buses transporting our kids after we remodeled the bus garage and bought new buses?
So I can.
Yeah, thank
Sure.
you.
You're welcome. So, since over my 12 years here in the district, we've always subcontracted busing, as far as I can think back. It may even go back further, I'm not sure. But yes, we did, remodel the transportation office, and we buy buses on a regular basis in the district. Buses well over 100,000 miles need to be, put to bed, I guess, so to speak, and new buses need to be purchased for the safety of the kids. Moving forward, we definitely subcontract out with First Student, and though that contract is always looked at whether or not we want to extend it or look at other transportation companies that could provide additional services for the district. And we also have a commitment with our local CSEA to hire some more West Seneca drivers. So there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of levels or layers to that question. But I want to thank Tony for putting some.
I think too, Brian, that part of that, because we lost so many drivers.
Yep.
By
Sure. Yeah. I mean, after the incentive, absolutely, we had a separation incentive, and many drivers did separate from the district, and we did increase the number of buses that we subcontract out to with First Student. But we do have more West Seneca drivers than we have First Student buses, and we have an agreement with our local, West Seneca CSEA to hire more West Seneca drivers in the future.
The other thing too, if those of you remember when Mr. Love was here and did his presentation, one of the things that he talked about was and I don't know why exactly, but the middle school run, when the middle school run happens, every bus in the district is used at that time. There are no spare buses. So there certainly aren't buses just, parked. So, okay, next question. My question or comment is related to a different topic. Here's a question or comment. Has anyone looked at the foundations of the wheelchair ramp that the bleachers at East lately? They are in severe disrepair and someone is going to get killed soon.
I'll take that one.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Farr.
Due to the severe winter and the crazy freeze-thaw cycles that we had, people remember areas flood in December and January. We did have crazy heaving. The problem has been fixed.
Perfect. Thanks.
Thank you for looking out for the
Okay.
ramp.
Yep.
Let me get it.
All right, next packet. Yep.
Okay. Next one from Martin. How many children? 4. 2 at Potters, 1 at West Middle, and 1 at West Senior. I have a question or comment regarding district finances. My question is, are we as taxpayers to the school district and the town being charged twice for SROS? What is SROS?
Our school resource office.
The school resource officers, meaning, is the school district subsidizing the town for police officers that our town taxes are paying for?
Thank you. Thanks, Ed. We definitely we have a contract with the town of West Seneca between the school district and the town of West Seneca. We do split services with that contract, and we do pay approximately $250,000 to the town, and that money is used to offset costs that the police department would normally use with our school resource officers. It's not double dipping, it's a split of services between the town and the district.
Okay. Next page. Martin, 4 children, 2 at Potters, 1 at West Middle, and 1 at West High. My question or comment is related to a different topic. Here is my question or comment. Now that it is public knowledge that Dr. Crawford called the principals of Potter and Winchester and stated their schools may be closed next year, how can we as the public be assured that everything is on the table and there is no behind the scene deals going on with Mr. Crawford, Dr. Crawford and the Board of Ed? After all, they did hire him. And also, will the school board at least follow the proposals submitted or come up with one of their own?
So I can answer the first part
Sure.
of the question. Dr. Crawford did address this at the last open forum. And Holly, you're here too. Dr. Crawford did speak with Holly and Kathy. Was it in the summer? Remember, Holly? Okay. Because he was concerned and wanted them to be aware that their schools would be discussed through this commission and the possibility of schools being closed. So he did address that already. And I guess the second part of the question is everything on the table. I think we're as transparent as we could possibly be with this commission, with it being videotaped and minutes being taken at every meeting. I think we're being very transparent and everything is on the table.
Yeah. I would agree with you, Mr. Graham. The next question of that section was, will the school board at least follow the proposal submitted or come up with one of their own? It's my understanding, and I think Ed, you'll concur with this, when we met with Mary Bussey and Jan Delbo in the beginning, when the commission was formed, we will be handing over our proposals to them November 3rd. They could choose to take any one of the proposals in full. They could take a portion of a proposal. They could take a proportion of this proposal and that proposal and put them together, or it's my understanding that they could choose to do nothing. I don't think that that's necessarily what their thought process is. I mean, they put this commission together with the thought that there was going to be some changes and recommendations to them, but they are just that, they're recommendations. Nothing is in, is solid.
I mean, my personal feeling on it is they're using us to kind of vet out a lot of the stuff that maybe we're trying to look outside the box for things. In relation to the proposals we've been working on, they're going to pick and choose, or they're going to pick one or some of one, but they were expecting proposals from us all the time throughout the 18-month process for lots of different things. So they may not even act on every proposal that we give. It may be something that's tabled for the future. The question, I'm guessing, is probably more geared towards school closing, the ones that we're presenting now. And once we present them, my understanding is we're actually probably going to have to meet with them after that to kind of go over some of it, and then they're going to meet on their own and work on it. So they have every right to choose anything they want, and they may have a plan of their own that they're going to work in, and we may have already proven that their plan's not a good one or something. So. Right. Yeah, it's basically we're just looking to get them some information, some ideas.
Again, we're the fact finders and they're the decision makers. Okay, you're gonna get a shirt that says that. Okay.
Next one, Martin. Two kids at Potters, one at West Middle and one at West Senior. If this committee is all about fact finding for the district, my question is: are there any pre-existing conditions, and if there are any, what are they and who set them?
I can answer.
You want? Yeah.
Okay. There are absolutely pre-existing conditions. We have a 2% tax cap. That is a pre-existing condition given to us by the state. We've lost $35 million in state aid over the last few years. We have a declining enrollment. That means with declining enrollment, we have less state aid for our students. So as far as pre-existing conditions, we have many of those. A lot of them are fiscal. And with that said, we want to be able to control our financial destiny. We want to be able to maximize our resources and support programming for our students.
May I add?
Sure.
I think I'm going to actually read another question a little bit. As far as when Lisa and I started the committee, we were literally told to start the committee and look at whatever you want. No pre-existing conditions on what we're allowed to look into were given to us at that time. As a committee, we all decided there were two things that we wanted to make sure we included. Was the 5 through 8 and the moving district offices out of here. I don't know what number meeting it was, but as a group we voted, and we felt that we're going to include that. I know Brian's got some things to bring up a little later about that. But no, like Mary Busey did not say, I don't want you to, look at this, or I want you to look at this. The school board actually wanted to be not directing us in any way. So when we first met, they literally said, anything you want. If we're thinking about solar panels, if we're thinking about growing grass on the roof, whatever, we have nothing we're not allowed to look at. Joe didn't keep us out of any rooms in any of the buildings. So I just want to get that out there. We kind of chose the only requirements that we chose as a committee, the 5 through 8 and the district offices out of this building.
Correct. Okay. Next question from Marty. 4 children, 2 at Potters, 1 at West Middle, and 1 at West Senior. I have a question or comment regarding district finances. My question or comment is, I understand that the West Seneca Central School District is self-insured. Can you please explain how the district lays people off? How does it work? I have heard the 2-for-1 model. How much do these individuals get paid, benefits involved, and for how long?
I can answer.
Yep, I was just gonna say, I know that the model is a 2-1, but I don't know the specifics of it, so.
Yeah, and so on the basic level, we are self-insured for unemployment insurance. And because recently the government extended unemployment benefits, it was approximately 46 weeks or almost a whole year worth of unemployment benefits for those who are unemployed. So given those conditions, and because we pay 100% of our unemployment insurance, it equals approximately half of someone's salary. Okay, so the district is responsible. So let's pretend we have an employee who makes $20,000 a year. Okay, and if that person becomes laid off or unemployed, we then pay half of that salary for all of those weeks for almost an entire school year. And again, this is referencing a few years ago when we were doing our separation agreement, the government extended unemployment benefits. So when we're paying 50% of $20,000 for one person, that's about $10,000 that the district pays. To recoup the benefit of laying somebody off, you actually have to lay off 2 people to make the savings of the $20,000. So that's about as basic as I can describe it.
When layoffs occur, it's typically the lower, newer people. Is that, or am I just misspeaking here?
Sure, if we didn't do the separation agreement and we decided to do layoffs instead, the least senior people.
Yeah, I didn't mean to say lower. I meant
No,
sorry.
yeah, no, that's okay. The least senior people would have been effective for sure. So that's definitely a factor. You know, laying off is just terrible for morale, and you know, I think our district has done a really great job in trying to avoid that at all costs, while also being creative in offering incentives for people to leave. With that said, that, you know, a lot of people have left based on the incentives and through attrition. So we have been able to reduce the workforce without laying people off. I'm not saying that that's going to be true moving into the future, but definitely we've been able to do that and you know, save money in that respect.
Sure.
So when someone's laid off, like, did they receive their pay, half their pay for 46 weeks? What about benefits, vacation?
We
Like, how does
pay-
that all?
We pay the unemployment insurance, so it's about half,
Okay.
yeah, of their salary.
Which includes benefits or does
I'm
not?
not sure, honestly, but it's about half of what their salary is.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we will need to find out about the benefit piece. Okay.
But there's never a chance, right, or something to get longer than 48 weeks or whatever that is,
Yeah,
right?
honestly, I'm not that well versed with that, but I do know that recently it was extended. I don't know if it's typically 26 weeks or what the typical unemployment period is, but I know that it was extended when we were doing the incentive, and that was a big factor in not laying people off.
I can email Brian Schultz and find out if it can go longer than 46 weeks, and also about the benefit piece.
So just saying there, because if we think about the layoffs and then maybe it's 2-for-1 for the first year, then after that it's a full savings once the layoff is complete.
Yeah,
You know, thinking of
Yeah, I
a
know
longer
what you're
range
saying.
plan out, so.
I'll find out that
Yeah.
information for us.
It'd be interesting to know. And you know what, I'm gonna ask, because I pay unemployment insurance, right? That's not self-funded for my company. What does self-funded mean? We just pay for it. There's no real, like.
you don't use some other
Right,
companies, some other
okay,
sources.
okay.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but we don't pay that unless you have somebody laid off.
Right,
It's the only time we pay it.
yeah. Whereas I pay it no matter what.
Right.
Okay. Next one from Jackie. One child, Allendale Elementary. In regards to looking at closing schools, my opinion is that Potter Road should remain open instead of sending those children to Allendale. Allendale should be closed The district offices could then move to Allendale building, and West Elementary would have room to accept more students. Again, the proposal boys over there, we'll just, again, run that as a scenario when we do the
Get
numbers
your
and stuff.
t-shirts made with that too,
Okay.
okay?
Thank you for the proposal.
Okay, next question is from Patty. 3 children, one at West High School, one at West Middle, and one at West L. I have a question or comment regarding middle school grade configuration. My question or comment is, with months to go until the end of 2012-2000 school year, my then 5th grader was told his class would be going to West Middle School for 6th grade rather than staying at West Elementary. The teachers did their best to prepare the kids for middle school with such short notice, but they did not even get close to the same preparation that every other 6th grade class had gotten all year long. In the past, 6th grade teachers were excellent about getting the kids used to switching classes, juggling multiple assignments, using binders to organize their work, etc. His class arrived at a middle school who again had done their best, but basically had rushed to be ready for them. It was a rocky year, but they survived. My son is now a 7th grader at West Middle. My main concern for him and his classmates is this. They have already experienced chaos and stress from the last shakeup. They lost out on some vital things that every other class before them and since them had received with regards to preparation and end of the year celebrations. If redistricting and school switching is to take place next school year, 2015-2016, what will happen to these kids who will be going to their final year at the middle school level? They've been West kids their entire school career. Is it possible that a portion of these kids will be ripped out of their schools for their last year in the middle school and placed into a brand new school over on the east side? Will there be a possibility for the 8th graders to be allowed to stay in the only school they've ever known and avoid yet another disruption to their education? I realize that change is inevitable and necessary. However, I hope that you will give some additional consideration to the West children who have already taken one for the team with the last round of changes. It seems cruel to force them through another upheaval. As far as having 5th graders at West Middle in the name of district parity, I don't see how it's even close to the same thing. The East Side has a great setup for the 5th and 6th graders. They are able to separate them in a more age-appropriate way that will ever be possible at West Middle. Thank you for your time and effort. Okay, so let's go piece by piece because there's kind of a few questions within. So if redistricting and school switching is to take place next school year, what will happen to these kids who will be going into their final year at the middle school level? I think one of the things that we've talked about is with bringing 5th grade up to the middle school, it really becomes a number game, and there's not a lot of wiggle room, from what I understand, of being able to bring 5th grade up and then keeping kids that may want to finish out at a specific school. They've been, they've been West kids for their entire school career. Is it possible that a portion of these kids will be ripped out of their schools for their last year in the middle school and placed into a brand new school over on the east side? Gentlemen?
It's possible.
It is possible. However, as we look at redistricting, one of the things we take into consideration are the neighborhoods. So if somebody is going to get moved from West Middle to East Middle, or East Middle to most likely West Middle to East Middle, because you got to make room at West Middle, chances are all the rest of their kids in their neighborhood are going with them. So the thought is that if we keep the neighborhoods together, the transition should be a lot easier because the kids will still be with their friends.
Right.
You know, so that's the whole point, was keeping the pockets of the neighborhoods together.
That, and I know you got like multiple proposals. That would be one. There's proposals where all you have to do is wait it out, and it doesn't have, no one has to leave anywhere. There's proposals where redistricting goes and kids can fit. So don't focus on just, not you, the question asker, we're looking at every option so the Board of Education can decide which ones work and which ones don't.
That is right. The question is good there in a way, because this is something we've talked about in practice with Maggie. And that is, in high school, obviously, we don't have to worry so much.
Right.
If you start out somewhere, even as a freshman, you can stay at that school if you want. Obviously, if you have siblings, no, they're not going to have the choice. They're not in high school yet. But in middle school, we're not going to get the equity. And they covered that in the question, saying, are you just going to do it for equity? Well, actually, that is one of the parameters that we have. So our thought was probably not in the middle school. You might get ripped out. You don't have to necessarily. You could do a proposal either way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's.
But our thought was in the middle school that you're not going to have the equity that we've spoken about in previous meetings.
Right.
Could be done.
And one of the things that if you don't move district lines, you will never get 5th grade in West Middle.
No, in 5 years.
Never.
5 years.
No, because you still won't.
No, we ran.
5 years.
Yeah.
But he's saying not right away.
Right.
We could, but it would be a
That-
lot.
yeah.
See, and that's, I just want to address this, we're not necessarily even looking at, like, all our proposals aren't required to happen this year. That's the thing, is this might be a 2-year process, a 3-year process, could be a 1-year process. If we literally do nothing, but wait 5 years, we can then have 5th grade on both sides with no problems. That was the farthest away proposal we looked at, and then we've looked at everything backing it up to where if we want to do it next year, kids would have to be removed and moved over in order to make it work no matter what.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the idea. But then there's also proposals where kids don't have to be moved, depending on how you redistrict. So, which is, yeah, why you see lots of little kids everywhere.
But our specific proposal is, if you're going to use Union Road as the boundary,
Right.
which would give equity,
Right.
you get the equity. But if you don't have if the person stays in West Middle, you're not going to have the equity, and it might not work if every kid stayed.
Right.
You might have we'd be over.
Yeah, and that's the decisions they got to decide whether it's worth it or not. When I say they, the board.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
when we looked at that 5-year out program, you pretty much get to 95% capacity at West Middle. That's in 5 years from now, you can fit them in there, but you're at 95% capacity.
Yeah.
So
Which Joe had already
makes it
said.
tough on
Joe has said basically 80% is kind of the max, right? You don't want to go above 80.
You can, I mean, 80 would be ideal. If we could get every building at 80, that would be ideal.
But to the person's question, though, they are right. In essence, in our subcommittee, we were working along the assumption that, well, actually, so that if your kid did get redistricted out of their middle school to go to the east side, it would be presented. It just wouldn't. Wouldn't happen.
Right.
will there be a possibility for the 8th graders to be allowed to stay in the only school they've ever known and avoid yet another disruption to their education? And I think that goes back to what we just said. It really varies on what proposal is chosen.
You get it?
Yep.
First name Shaden, one child, Potters Road. I did not realize that West Seneca was in the employment industry. Our enrollment has gone down, but yet you are only down 135 to 200 people since 2010. So instead, you want to close another of our schools and move kids around just so you don't have to lay off people. The UPK program has teachers making $80,000 a year to babysit 4-year-olds. I am all for moving the UPK out of our schools, losing 12 jobs and saving $500,000 a year.
I just want to clarify that we're down 250 employees since 2009. Some of that's through attrition, and some of that's through the incentive that the district created to have employees separate. Of the 250, we've only had to replace approximately 12 or 13 employees.
Okay, so here's a question that could help with that. Do we have a percentage of enrollment and a percentage of employment? Can we pull those numbers? Because isn't 250 a lot of people?
250 is a lot of people.
Like, is that something we can put together?
We could try to see.
Just to see how it looks?
Yeah.
Okay.
If there's more for shading.
Yeah, okay. Oh, and that last proposal is floating around about the UPK, so that'll be addressed. Okay, my next question or comment related to a different topic. Here is my question or comment. I would hope the Board of Education has enough respect for us parents in the district to hold a meeting about their decisions, or have Dr. Crawford stand up and explain the reasoning once the decisions have been made. Plus, I would like it known throughout the district that if we are to close 1 or 2 more schools, we do not need that many people on our Board of Education. And we are going to be calling for Dr. Crawford's contract not to be extended. He is getting his way with 5 through 8 middle schools and closing 1 to 2 schools. This was his plan all along, and us as parents and kids of West Seneca are paying the price. Sorry. Finally, I would hope that the Board of Education is also getting copies of these questions we are submitting.
Is the other thing as far as the UPK, I'd just like to clarify that I don't look at it as a babysitting job. UPK is really vital to our children in getting their skills set, ready to come into kindergarten and move on through their career at West Seneca Central Schools. We are not aware of what the board's decision is going to be as far as having any type of additional forums or meetings or Dr. Crawford's plan. We do not know if that is going to happen. And at this point, the Board of Education has not been getting a copy of these questions. These questions were done just for the 21st century. We can certainly, if it's the commission's decision, we can certainly include them into a packet for the board. We can do that if you'd like.
Plus, I'm sure.
They're part of the minutes, though.
What?
They're
Yeah.
part of the minutes.
Yes.
They're part of the minutes,
The
and
board has every access to the minutes, like
Yeah.
everybody else does on the website.
and I would hope that the board probably watches the videos too. But we have them in writing, and we can hand them over.
I just want to thank Lisa for your comment about teaching our children, whether they're 4 or 5,
Right.
or 6, or 7 years old, or whether or not they have special education needs, or whatever needs our children have. We want the best possible educators working with our kids.
Absolutely.
Holly, do you agree?
I agree. There's actually a tremendous amount of research that supports early intervention. It supports building background knowledge and experiences with vocabulary development. Those are all things that our children absolutely need, and they get those things in the pre-kindergarten program so that they can be successful. So I think it's essential that our children are a part of that, and I think if you look at research, you'll find that all the research supports that is necessary for our children.
Yeah. Thank you, Holly. And I just one more thing. This commission has done a really nice job in identifying things that they value. You value music, you value the arts, you value athletics, you value education, the academies and the programs. We definitely need to embrace and value intervention with our children, whether they're 5 or 4 or 6 or 7. It doesn't really matter. It's our kids, and we're providing them the best possible education.
Okay.
Keep telling you, we could save $2.5 million and get rid of kindergarten. We don't want to do that.
The church preacher. Okay. Next question is from Robert. One child attending the schools, West Seneca West Middle School. I have a question or comment regarding district transportation. My question or comment is, with the proposals, it seems like kids will be on a bus for longer periods of time. With the determination to close and sell off Potters and Winchester, we will have 2 schools, Allendale and Westell, 200 yards apart on one side of town, and 2 schools, Clinton and Northwood, 2 blocks apart on the opposite side of town. So that basically was a comment. Thank you for that. At this point, we have not yet determined that Potters and or Winchester are schools that will be closing. Again, that will be going to the Board of Education, and they'll be making the decisions as to what schools will be closing, if any it will. My question or comment is related to a different topic. Here is my question or comment. Where would I find the July 24th meeting with Kevin Love presentation on the school/street? I could not find it on YouTube. I did not see or hear of any proposals to close West L, which was forced into the old Allendale Junior High Middle School by the district years ago as an overflow. Has the following proposal been considered? Close West Elementary, move kids to Potter and Allendale Elementary. Close Winchester, sell or repurpose Winchester. Move kids to Northwood. Leave district offices where they are now. Also use the building as adult education. Sell Ebenezer. Okay, so we'll start at the first one, the July 24th meeting. That meeting is not, it is the only meeting that is not on YouTube, and that is because Mr. Pacer was on vacation that meeting. So, and since he is the only one in the district that is available to use the equipment and knows how to do that, that meeting was not videotaped. It's the only meeting, and that's the reason of that.
But the minutes
Correct.
are on the website.
Yes.
And I'll double check that after this meeting. And if for some reason they're not, I'll make sure they're up there. But
Yeah.
we did post the minutes of the meeting.
But that is the reason of that.
I just want to jump in, and bus times obviously will be considered very highly with the proposals that are
Yep.
being submitted.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's definitely a concern, and like Brian said right from the beginning, we wanted to have the kids go to the closest school.
Yep. As far as closing West L, that I believe there is a proposal. Has there been a proposal to consider to close West L? I don't know that it's to move the kids to Potters and Allendale, but there is a proposal with West L. To close Winchester and move the kids to Northwood, that was a proposal. And to leave the district offices where they are now and use the building for adult education. I do not believe that has been a proposal. That would be an awfully big building for adult ed. But it's certainly something that we could look into. Sell Ebenezer, if you remember, we did talk about that in the very, very beginning. And the downfalls or the pitfalls of that building are numerous. And those of you that spent 2 Saturdays all day long touring the buildings, remember when we went into Ebenezer, one of the things that we found out in that building was that houses all of our servers, which was news to me. I had never been in a server room. I didn't know you had to keep it at a certain temperature or anything like that. And when we went in there, one of the things with moving that particular department would be upwards of almost $2 million to move because of the wiring and the actual stuff. So I don't know how else to describe it, right? Stuff, but I mean, those of you that were there that day, remember there was a lot of stuff in there, and that would be one of the reasons that we looked at. We also don't have a facility that could really house that at this particular time in a specific building, school building. So that was one of the reasons that one of the things that we kind of put the kibosh on Ebenezer. The other reasoning was that it's the most centrally located building within the district. So that had something to do with it. And anything else I'm forgetting about? I mean, I know the biggest...
Print services are there. Print services, all the printing for the district is done there. It's a huge operation. There's no place to put it. Also, my maintenance operations run out of that building. We need a home that there just wouldn't be room for us anywhere.
And the building's not worth
No, it isn't.
anything.
No.
So if someone wants to give us $10 million, we could maybe look at it.
Absolutely.
But so that kind of I hope that clarifies that we did look at that, and those were the reasons of keeping Ebenezer open at this time. All right, next one.
Next one from Robert, one child, West Seneca, West Middle. My question or comment is related to a different topic. Here's my question or comment. Where would one find copies of all the proposals with pros and cons the committee has laid out? Brian's head. What we're doing is we're working, everything's still free flowing. We don't have written copies yet, and I don't know what the protocol is gonna be when we present to the board. I'm assuming when we present to the board, it's public knowledge, but I'm not quite sure. We can get an answer to that more exactly as we
Yeah,
work
that'll
on
be,
that.
that'll actually be given to the board and the, it would be the board's decision
Yeah.
as to what they want to do.
Yeah,
with
because
them.
the proposals right now are anywhere from, 3 or 4 to 20, and they're not, we're not working on like, okay, here's proposal 1 sheet. We have lots of different proposals that have to be properly laid out. So we'll work on finding out what exactly the scenario is going to be with that. And the next question is, where would one find the district maps of which indicate which streets go to which school presently? So help me out here.
Sure, no problem. Kevin Love is the keeper of the maps for our streets, and we also have a list in central registration. So if Robert wants to give me a call, that would be great. I can help him with that.
Next one from Tammy, one child, West Middle School, formerly at Potters Road. I have a question or comment regarding district student enrollment. My question or comment is, I know Potters Road, like many other school enrollment is down, but why is it that students living on Briarwood or Lindale for years have gone to West L instead of going to Potters, which is closer to help enrollment? Just seems that not all streets make sense. It's very sad when everyone knows that Potters is closing because of a buyer, and students are also in the building knowing this. Has any other schools even been considered, like Allendale? Oh wait, they have a nice playground, so no. But if you put some of the students in West and some in Potters, and as you read above that students in Center Road are really do belong at Potters, so enrollment goes up there and West L would go down, it just seems to the public that closed Potters because of a buyer, but besides numbers which you can move students from any school and make it work there, has not been any concrete evidence to just close Potters and not any other school. Especially seeing at a meeting heard don't make a lot of sale of school unless already a done deal and getting more than people think for the sale to redo all of Potters Road.
I'll just try to answer or comment on some of this. There is no buyer. We talked at the last meeting that the chances are these proposals that are being recommended to the board include mothballing of schools. Is that a fair statement? Okay. So there is no buyer. So
yeah, and I want to throw out there research that I've been doing. The school is anywhere near at all worth what we would technically owe on the mortgage. I've talked to a lot of realtors and developers and stuff, and it would, it's so mothballing. We're going to propose lots of different things, but mothballing seems to be the most cost-effective way for any building.
I would also like to throw out there, her question is valid about Briarwood or Lindale. And that's why in this subcommittee that we're doing, we want the map to look like it makes sense.
Right.
Where hopefully you won't have a lot of those exceptions where you say, wait a minute, you took out a
And
ruler and
we-
measured.
Yeah, we're going to go over the proposals too, and I think that'll help make it more clear. So the other thing I'm going to throw out there is, I don't know if the enrollment at Potters, because of the different configurations, is one of the big reasons. Enrollment is down in the entire district, so we're considering closing a building. Not just like, hey, one school has got low enrollment, let's close it. Unless I'm wrong on that, if the committee wants to correct me. Maybe I'm misspeaking.
no, Ed, I think it's.
I think the
Yeah.
problem is that one of the things that we want to do is to build up the percentage capacity being used at these buildings. If you take some people out of West and put them into Potters, it helps out Potters, but now West is down low on its percentage. So if you just shuffle the kids around within this district, you're never going to get to an ideal to that 80%,
But-
above 7% figure anywhere within a district.
But the
So
proposals-
that's why closing the school has gotten to that stage, is because that's the only way you can start to build up,
But-
is to take kids and put them into another school and not have one of them.
Right, and since we've learned about the mothballing situation, your committee, the committee boys on proposals, have actually had each school looked at as closing, what would happen, where would we redistribute. So we stopped focusing on 2 and we started focusing on 6. So, and we ran the scenarios plus and minuses for every school just to kind of see, that way it's a little more, once we learned that, the mothballing factor can apply to any building. Except Ebenezer, we can't mothball because the equipment's got to be kept certain temperatures and the printing's already there. So that's why that one's the one we didn't run a scenario on.
That's a separate proposal
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
moving, administration to Ebenezer.
Right.
But in every single one of our proposals, it should be said that the boundaries are going to change. 'Cause
Right.
obviously, you're going to have district boundaries change. If you close a West Side Elementary School, no matter which one it is, all the elementary schools on that side of town will be getting additional students. The boundaries will have to be changed. And what we're trying to do scientifically is make sure that most of the kids will be going to the closest school to their house, so that when you look at the boundaries, they make sense to you. You're not going to say, what were those guys thinking?
Yeah. So we can discuss that. And I know there's a comment in here. Has any other schools ever been considered like Allendale? Yes. Actually, Allendale is one of the 6 schools. And I'm just going to throw out there, does Potters have a nice playground now or not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Much better.
Is it done? Is it up?
Yes, it's up and going, right, Holly? It's hooked up to the old playground.
Okay.
Because I know somebody did mention that they couldn't see where the new playground was. It's not that it's in a whole new location, it's an add-on to the existing
Sure.
playground. So if you're looking for a brand new spot for a playground in the school, you're not gonna find it. It's an add-on to what's currently there to make it a bigger playground.
Okay.
So-
So we'll look at that. So yeah, I mean, again, every elementary school has been looked at hours with your committee. I know that because I've been there for some of them. We keep hearing that, I have a question or comment regarding student capacity within our school buildings. We keep hearing that around Potter's area, no one new is moving in. But when one of these houses are sold, it is not the seniors moving in, it is the younger generation. The seniors are moving into developments that they do not have to maintain a house and everything is taken care of for them, not in a house. Same thing in the old Seneca Mall area. I'm sorry, but you can't say that high-profile doctors or others will move in. You really don't have any idea. It could even be turned into senior places. They're more in demand than anything. Actually, yes, senior places are in more demand. I'm going to comment on this, and then anyone else can chime in. Typically, as older people are moving out, younger people are moving in. But I can tell you right now, on my block, when I was a kid, I had 20-plus families with kids, multiple kids. My children who live on Barnesdale now have 4 friends, not 4 families, 4 friends on our entire street that they play with. Not including you guys, and I'm talking my area. So all my neighbors who are younger than me, none of them have kids. And I know a lot of them aren't planning on having kids. I think that's where the issue is. We're not going to get a population increase like we would want. And I've spent a lot of time with Gene Hart and the town on a lot of that. And we were talking, if every development just opened up next year, we magically filled up every lot we had where developments we're looking at, they were figuring maybe 1,000 kids in the entire district at most. That's if every development was built next year. And 1,000 kids divided over 12 grades comes out to be what? Anyone got some? 80? So 80 kids and 12 grades. That's not a huge, and that's, again, if every house was sold and numbers were built, and Seneca Mall site could be 5-10 years away. So I think that addresses it. I have a question or comment regarding middle school grade configuration. My question or comment is, if the West Middle School changes to 5 through 8, depending on what building the students would be in, because most of these kids are only 9 and 10-year-old, has anyone considered an after-school program, or would these students be yet again on a bus somewhere else?
We actually have a before and after school program that's run through our community education program. Dr. Mercado oversees that, and it's available K to 6, I think, or grades K to 6. So we actually have students at East and West Middle School who already participate in the after school or before school program.
I have a question or comment regarding district transportation. My question or comment is, so far this year, I believe that the way certain streets are configured or how many students are on buses has not been looked at thoroughly. West Seneca has students on Birch getting on a bus, then picking up students on Briarwood. The other hand, streets along Seneca, a block from Birch, are picked up around 7:45 on Wichita, and the same bus going to class at almost 7:45 to 7:50. And the bus has every seat with a full capacity of 2 to 3 students, and the buses are rounding corners, and kids are still trying to get a seat and being yelled at to seat down. So I guess in conclusion, is someone going to do a better job with these buses for next year, no matter what happens with configuration or schools closing? And my comment to that would be, I would address it with the Board of Education and Kevin Love, or Brian Graham, this guy right here.
So I'd be happy to talk to Tammy about the bus concerns.
Going. Keep
That was
going.
Robert.
Oh, I thought this was Tammy.
No, you're right. You're right.
Is it Tammy?
Yeah.
Oh,
Is it? Did I have to screw that up? Sorry about that.
That's okay.
It's okay.
My question or comment is related to a different topic. Here is my question or comment. I originally was getting emails, then all of a sudden going to my junk folder. I heard comments that seemed very negative, as if the public has a say, and if they want to know what's going on, it's an open meeting and the public can watch it on YouTube. But to watch and things go in circles, why wasn't something emailed to everyone saying these are the original 11 proposals and so forth? The meeting notes don't always help, and the proposals are narrowed down, the same updates given. Did you address that before we go? Or?
No, just keep
Okay.
going.
Regarding the Potters Road Playground, which I asked about at the September 10th meeting, just believe more parents should be aware of what is going on. Will something from the school be sent out so many parents are asking about being reimbursed for purchasing bricks? Who will make the decision for the playground and what happens to it? Once it's official and the board makes a decision on how quickly will this be out to the public, I ask because 2 years ago we were quickly throwing together a 4th and 5th grade moving up ceremony for both grade levels by the PTG at Potters Road when East Middle was 5th through 8th grade. Again, from being the PTG treasurer at Potters Road for the past 3 years and being heavily involved to try and plan end of year events for these students if the school is closing, how quickly will parents be notified? If you do not know, this is something your group should be relaying to the board on behalf of parents. Thank you for your time, and I will look forward to some responses. Will questions with answers from everyone be on the webpage with names blank, or how is this being handled?
I just want to jump in. So I just want to thank Tammy for all of her comments. I'm not sure why the emails go to the junk folder, but it's good that she's at least looking in the junk folder to find them or to, change that setting in her email. I believe we're going to hear more about proposals today from your group. Is that right? So I know that we're not even close to having all the proposals finalized. And the question, looks like there's some anxiety about the Potters Road Playground. I guess first we need to hear, what the proposals are, what the Board of Education decides to do,
Right.
and then I'm sure the building principal and others would make plans with Joe Farr or whatever to work on playgrounds and so forth.
I'm going to throw out 2 things on that. I know that was addressed. If for some reason Potters were to close and say, be sold, I know Crawford, and you said we'll make every effort to move the playground where they choose. But now that we're looking at the mothball situation, and correct me on this, the playground could still be used, right? It would still be a community playground. So that's actually something I just thought of. If the building is not sold and it's mothballed, the playground isn't closed. And that can still be maintained cheaply?
Yes.
Okay, so, great.
Was the one at East kept there too, or no?
Yeah.
It was.
Yep, and that was the decision
good
by the
point.
East parents, I believe, or as a group, that they wanted to keep it there.
That brings up a good point. It was a decision by the parents. It could have been moved to Clinton Street, but the parents wanted it kept at East Elementary. So, I think there's some other comments or concerns about how quick the board will make a decision. That's really up to the board. So hopefully they'll take that into consideration. So with that said, I think parents would be notified when the board makes their decision.
Yep.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, moving on. Question from Karen, 3 children, West Middle and West Senior. I have a question or comment regarding student capacity within our school buildings. My question or comment is, I have 2 sons at West Middle. I also work in the kitchen at West Middle. I saw that the school was at 93% capacity at the meeting last night. A comment was made as to the optimal capacity being at around 80%. My question is, when do you feel that enrollment will be down enough to accommodate a 5th grade in that building? If we were to do nothing, my information that I've received is 5 years, correct, Brian?
Approximately.
5 years, but it wouldn't get you to 80%.
Correct.
5 years would get you to 95%. 5 years get you below the max capacity at West Middle.
Okay.
So that was all that we were able to get at. And keeping things as is, you will never get below that 95% figure just because if you,
Without
what you
redrawing lines.
anticipate what's coming through, it'll always stay at that 95% figure. So.
Thank you. My question or comment is related to a different topic. Here's my question or comment. I have a concern. My concern is having a neighborhood elementary school. As I see it now, the 6 remaining elementary schools could be paired. Northwood and Clinton are literally blocks away. Allendale and West Elementary are on the same campus. And lastly, Winchester and Potter are but 1 mile apart. If 2 schools are to close, please consider keeping a school in the neighborhood open. I live on Aurora, and all 4 of my boys went to Winchester. In the summer of 2013, a neighbor sold his house. The house was on the corner of Bradford and Aurora. The house sold in less than 2 weeks because the family buying it saw the school in their backyard. And
Hold
it...
on. Where is it? So this backyard, and it appealed to them.
And it appealed to them.
Our neighbors lose if we lose 2 schools close in proximity.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that comment on that. And I think that, when we do look at our schools, they are built, no matter what schools you look at, there are schools that are in close proximity to each other. So, okay. Thanks for those comments. Ed?
Okay. First name Larry, 3 children, West Middle 2, West Senior. My question or comment is related to a different topic. According to New York State Department of Transportation website, construction on the replacement of Harlem Road Bridge over Buffalo Creek is scheduled to begin in October 2015 and last for 1 year.
I will send that. Thank you, Larry. I'll send that to Kevin Love so he's aware of that.
Actually, I want to throw out there that I know there's been a lot of talk of trying to bump it up if possible. Also, just because of the previous flooding, part of that whole reason was because of the bridge, and the new construction of the bridge will allow more ice to flow. I don't know if a decision's been made for sure yet, but I know it was being requested that it be bumped up by, sooner.
Okay. Next question is from Corey, 4 children, West Middle and Winchester. My question or comment is related to a different topic. Here is my question or comment. This was brought to me from a couple teachers who are wondering if the plans are being submitted to the Board of Ed in November. Will a plan be in place or known throughout the district early enough for teachers to be able to put in for the retirement according to the teacher contract standards? I'm not sure when they normally put in what their contract says regarding that.
Yeah, we're pretty aware of the contractual language for everybody involved in the district, and we'll pay attention to that as needed.
Okay. Thank you.
Next one, Erica, 2 children, Allendale L and West Middle. I have a question or comment regarding district student enrollment. Why are the Camelot Square developments that have been under construction for the past few years and streets like Oak Hill Drive and Nina Terrace part of Orchard Park Central? If these
Sorry, go ahead, keep going.
If these neighborhoods were put back in under West Seneca schools, we would have a higher school tax revenue. We pull on the borders of Lackawanna and Blaisdell and South Buffalo where the house values are lower, being that home value and school taxes go hand in hand. Orchard Park has many, many new developments underway, so they have a higher tax base. If your home is in West Seneca, then you should attend a West Seneca Central School. I wish that was true.
Yeah.
Yep.
Those lines have been that way for years, and we border on many different
I
communities.
don't want those Cheektowaga kids going to school in West Seneca.
Okay,
No,
keep
I know,
going.
but we've got that. What did we talk about though? The lines were drawn originally because it was all farmland and stuff. So That's kind of how, my cousins live in Cheektowaga, they went to West Seneca. So it's kind of, there's no change in that ever, right?
That's the state, right? Brian?
I think the towns would battle
Yeah.
pretty mightily for.
We could
for
take
their
over,
borders.
like we could get troops or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Okay. My question or comment is related to a different topic. I understand that we must consolidate the elementary schools. I am highly supportive of the group. However, I have one child on the west side and would prefer that my younger child be allowed to attend the west side as her brother currently does. I appreciate that. Yeah.
All right, so those are all of the questions that have been generated from the website. So I think the one other question somebody had said was, that was Tammy's question, I think, of will the questions, where will the answers be? And
They're in our minutes.
they're in our minutes, and they are on the YouTube videos, just to reiterate that for everyone.
And the minutes go onto the website.
Right, the minutes are on the website, and we have the YouTube videos going, so, okay. The website, being that we're getting close to our D-Day, Mr. Graham has shut down the question piece on the website at this point, just because we have one more meeting prior to our presentation to the board. So we appreciate all of the people's comments and hard work. They will be taken into account.
Our emails are up there.
Yep.
All of them.
Yep, if anybody has any other additions. Okay, so I think that was really helpful, being able to have people send in questions if they have them, and I think we heard from a variety of people, so that's great. Additional ideas and proposals. Okay, so at this point, we're going to do, Guy and Brian are going to talk a little bit about what they have. Joe, you have some information too. So do you want to piggyback after Brian and...
Certainly.
Okay. All right, so Brian and Guy, we'll let you go ahead. Also, the other thing, there was a group that had been meeting with Eric. He's not here tonight. And I really think that that group needs to meet one more time and kind of firm up a little bit. So I think we'll be setting up a date tonight, and then because we really need to finalize some things with that. So I know he's not here, but we'll just go ahead and pick a date, and hopefully he'll be able to come. All right, gentlemen, you're up. And again, before you get started, thank you for your time, your effort, your number crunching, your line moving, your all of that stuff, because I know you have put in buku hours, and much appreciated by all.
Okay, what we've done to this point is we are putting together a proposal where each elementary school will be listed as a possibility of closure. So we're gonna list the school that's closing. We're gonna give the advantages. We're gonna give the disadvantages for it. And we're also gonna give the impact on the district for that particular school closing. So, obviously from the elementary side, we have closed Clinton, closed Northwood, closed Allendale, closed Westell, closed Potters, closed Winchester. So we do have that part of it. With the impact on the district, we know that as a committee, as a commission, we wanted 5 to 8 middle schools. In order to get a 5 to 8 middle school on the west side, lines have to change. There's no way to get the 5 to 8 middle school and not have that building at 95% capacity, which is exactly where it's at right now, which is a big problem. So, so what we're going to do on the impact with the district, we're going to point out which elementary schools will be east feeding, which elementary schools will be west feeding. we will leave an option for the high school kids to remain at their current school, whether it be west or east. The high schools have enough room that we can have a fluctuation of enrollment, and it's not going to affect. Middle school kids would change, and then they would also move to their proper high school when they come through. As we do this, like we said, the board can choose to make changes a year from now, 2 years, 3 years from now, however they decide to do it. And when they decide to make the change, they may choose that as middle school kids graduate to the next high school, they make the change as it's going along, and then it's an incremental change. It's not everything coming along at once, that as the population comes out, it comes through. We will have priority for the elementary school that feeds to the proper middle school and high school. Administration going to Ebenezer. And we're looking to have the same educational opportunity and values for the east and west side. That's one of the big things as a commission that we discussed was, are the east and west giving the same opportunities? What, can we have equality between the schools about what programs everybody has available? And obviously the ideal goal through this whole thing is to save money on the school operating costs so that we can continue programming. So we've worked out and we've come up with what the issues are with each school, what the pros are for each school. One of the things we obviously take into account is what's a Title I school, and there is a cost with moving Title I equipment, and that it has to go to another Title I school. And we also are well aware that depending as to where the enrollment goes, maybe one of the other schools becomes a Title I school. But obviously those are things we're never going to be able to know up front. Right. That all depends as to after the free and reduced lunch program, right, Brian? That's after those applications are submitted in September, right? So truthfully, you never know what a Title I school is until everyone completes those applications.
Yeah, I mean, we have a deadline, and then actually Franco works on that for us. I did receive the most up-to-date numbers today from Anne Marie Ralph, and it's just really important, I think, for everybody here to hear this, that in our district right now, we're about 37% of our families are in the entire district receive free and or reduced lunches. Potters, Roller, and Winchester have a pretty significant number of families that also utilize that need. So, but yeah, Brian, families, that information can change throughout the year, but there is a deadline, and Franco identifies that and then reports that to the state and the federal government.
So that's kind of the way it's going to feed through with each one of the schools. We did preliminary with each one of the proposals. We will come up with new lines. One of the main lines that in meetings with Kevin Love is if you use Union Road as the line between east and west, you'll get equality between east and west and middle school and high school. So that's one of the bases for all of the proposals is going to be using Union Road as the east-west line, because that evens out middle school and high school, which is one of the main goals through the whole park. And to even it out actually gives the 5 to 8 middle school for both sides. So those are, we have maps with each one of those, and we also full well know that numbers are never going to be firm from Kevin now anyways, because once the proposal's set, he's got to go through and figure out where the kids get bused anyways. So, if we come up with general lines and things like that and see where it works, after a proposal is done, they can figure out where they need to move it. If they need to move it one street over, one street a different way to make it sort of fit into whichever school is there. We just want to give the information as to, does it make sense to close this school, not make sense to close this school, and just give the pros and cons for it. So, do you want me to go through what we've come up with on each of the schools?
I think so, and I think one of the other things too is that we talked a little bit about making sure, and I guess I don't know if we put it in each proposal or if we put it in just as a blanket statement, but I think one of the things is that we want to really make sure that there's a transition plan in place for whatever configuration it becomes. I think we need to really make sure that there is a transition piece. And I know when East Elementary closed and the kids went to Clinton, that they did do a lot of different things to kind of welcome the families and kind of bridge that. I think that that's important. I think to remind the board that we need to do that.
Yeah, that would probably be general. I don't think that was
Yeah,
addressed.
we could just do that as a general. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
take the lessons learned from the East
Yeah.
Bell and Clinton one and see what was successful off of merging the kids with Clinton and putting that into place, whatever's done here.
Okay.
So, from closed Clinton, the issues with it, there is potential to redistrict some of the East L kids. The school right now is at 80% capacity. It's the second most enrollment for all the elementary schools, so you are uprooting a lot of kids. And there's efficiencies that have already been realized at the school from the East L merger. So it could be taking a step backwards by closing that school. The pros, there's more parking at Northwood and Allendale. The east feeding schools from that proposal would be Allendale and Northwood. The west feeding schools would be Potters, West, and Winchester. So one of the pros was it keeps an east feeding school in the north and south part of town. When we first start off, any school is probably going to be mothballed because obviously we don't know the sellability of it. But from what we've heard from the real estate part is Clinton Street would be one that could be sellable. And it's not a Title I school, so there would be no issues moving equipment out of it. So that's a pro for that school. Northwood,
Well, hold on. Do we want to discuss anything, or are you just reading them?
Does anybody have any questions, or is there any other pros or cons that anyone else can think of that they would like to add to that? Sometimes a different set of eyes.
I thought it was great.
I think there's a lot of details that are being uncovered, and there will be more yet to be uncovered. And we try to be fair to everybody in the district and look at what the impact would have, what it would become if we closed A, B, C, D, or E. And we were surprised ourselves as we brainstormed some of these things.
Especially closing an east side school, obviously, because there's only 3 on that side of town, there's 4 on the other side of town. So closing either Clinton or Northwood is very tough. And then to make Allendale an east feeding school, it's very tough, especially when our goal in the beginning was you have to go to the closest school. Close an east side school, you're not going to get everything you want. Especially when you have to have equity and everything else, the 5th grade middle school. Making Allendale an east feeding school it's a tough lift. So we were surprised at some of the things we found out.
All right.
So, and that was one of the things is when we said which would be the other east feed was Allendale, because, our goal was to, as much as possible, bring logic in that we know that east and west of Union Road gives the equality for middle and high school. When it comes to the elementary schools, the thought was we want to send the kids to the closest school that's to their neighborhood. So that's the whole goal behind it is to keep, and it's looking at it by neighborhoods as much as possible with divvying it up. That's kind of the whole goal. When we look at closing Northwood, the east feeding schools would be Allendale and Clinton. Potters, West, and Winchester would be the west feeding schools. Issue again, there is the possibility of redistricting some of the East L kids. There's the parking issues at Clinton. You lose a nice big parking lot. There's a nice playground. It's probably not sellable. And it is a Title I school, so you could have issues with moving equipment. The pros, it is at low capacity. It keeps an east feeding school in the north and south. So that's kind of what we came up with off of Northwood.
great.
Is there a lot of land that goes with Northwood? Is that one of the bigger parcels?
There's a strip that heads over towards Union Road. It's not very functional, you know, it's landlocked.
Gotcha, okay, all right, okay, thank you. Okay,
Next one was closing Allendale. That would make Clinton and Northwood as east feeding schools, Potters, West, and Winchester as west feeding schools. One of the issues, some Clinton kids would get moved to Northwood, but it wouldn't be the same kids that were redistricted from east out. So it wouldn't be the kids from the south.
Yeah,
The south part of town.
No, he's right.
From the south part, those kids would still stay at Clinton Street. We're talking about the kids that were closer to French Road that weren't touched, that were at Clinton already, that if we went this route, some of those kids could switch to Northwood to make room for kids from the other side to go to Clinton Street. One of the issues is there is no South Elementary School for the east.
Wait, say that again? There's no what?
There's no South Elementary School for East Feeding.
No, what he's saying
So
is
you're
basically,
only-
East Elementary used to be the one on the south side of town,
Right.
that's East Feeding. That's closed, so now what he's saying is, both the elementary schools are over that side of town. You still have two, but they're both over there. And where, as opposed to the other proposals that he just read, if you close one of those schools and make Allendale the other East Feeding school, that is in the southern portion
Right.
of the district.
Okay.
It is on a campus where there would be kids, so you would need to be careful if you did do something else with Allendale, if you sold it or leased it or whatnot, you have to be careful what goes in there because it is on a campus with kids.
right.
The pros for it is the East Out kids stay at Clinton. It is a school that has a roof that needs to be replaced that hopefully we wouldn't have to replace it at that point. We could keep the property with West Out if we did something with the building itself. So we could maintain a lot of the property and just, if we did something with the school, it's just a school. And it could be sellable or leasable. And it's not a Title I school, so there's no issues with moving equipment. So that's with closing Allendale. Anything on that?
And those kids would go, again,
Well, what would happen is using Union Road as the divider,
right,
the kids on the east side of Union Road that would be east would flow to Clinton or
okay.
flow to Clinton because that's the southernmost.
So
school.
everything is using the, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Next is closing West Out. That would make Clinton and Northwood as east feeding schools, and Allendale, Potters, and Winchester as west feeding schools. Big issue there is it's the largest capacity school, so you have the most amount of kids that you would uproot. You also do not have the ability just to close West Out and take those kids and very simply say put them in Potters and Allendale because there's not enough room in those two buildings to fit the 650 kids that are in West Out. So there would have to be a third school. So you couldn't just say close West Out, move them to these other two schools and you're set. There's not enough room in those two schools to fit all the kids in this building. Community Ed uses this building. There is a large parking lot, and again, there's no South Elementary School for the east kids. The pros, there would be close schools to send the west kids to. You have Allendale and Potters. You would just have to take some of the kids that would be the southern or the northern part of Potters, and they would flow outward. So you still would be redistricting some of the Potters kids to move the west kids. It is one of the pros. It is the most expensive school to operate because it's obviously the largest. So you would have more savings if this was one mothball. It would be an easy way to get the remaining elementary schools closer to 70%. It could also be a possible middle school where you could put 5th and 6th graders on one floor and 7th and 8th graders on another floor. And it's not a Title I school, so there's no issues with moving equipment. So we came up with a potential repurposing of Westa with a possible middle school. But, you know, a lot of things, you know, as we've gone through this, Clinton Street and West L are two schools that, as we've gone through this, don't make a lot of sense to close. So based off of what we've gone through, those two make the least amount of sense out of any schools to close in this district. But we're still going to put together a proposal so the board gets
The one thing I think that we talked about too with making it a middle school, we're doing, I mean, ideally, it's got the space of the 5, 6, 7, 8, but that it would cost upwards of upwards of over $1 million to outfit it with the science labs that it would need. It has no auditorium. The bathrooms would need to be, the bathrooms would need to be changed around. So there are a few that we talked about earlier in the time of what it would do, of the cons with that.
You'd have to put in home and career.
And there's no fields.
Right.
There was a list that we at one point had made. Not saying that we shouldn't move that on, but I think that in the con list for that, there's quite a few.
Yeah, and that could be something if they were to explore that option. I think then we would take that proposal and take it further.
I think the proposal stops before you do the switching, or the original proposal, right? That's just an add-on?
That was just one to say, you know, if you were looking at what could you repurpose the school for within the district, that's possible.
Yeah, that's not
repurpose.
part of the proposal.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
I'm
just
sorry.
to say what's the possible repurpose of the building?
Gotcha.
That's one of the
Okay.
possible repurposes. But
Okay.
if the board wanted to do that, then we would then say, okay,
Yep.
well, here's the pros and cons of trying to turn this into a middle school.
I think too with the community ed piece, this is the only elementary building that has a pool. And the pool, my son's a lifeguard, so I just happen to know that the pool is used here all the time. So that's with the community ed piece. I mean, that could be for whatever the configuration is, but the pool does get used a lot. Just.
Okay. Next one was closing Potter's Road. One proposal is you have Clinton and Northwood as east feeding schools. Allendale, West, and Winchester are west feeding schools. Issues with that. Potter's is centrally located. It has the new playground, and there's no South Elementary School for the east. The pros are low capacity. We can still send the west kids to their closest school because those kids could be sent to West or Winchester. They're in neighborhood pockets, so it's easy to split up, so there's a logical division to send students to the other schools, and it could be sellable. Another offshoot of the Potter's proposal is you have Clinton and Northwood and Allendale as east feeding schools, and you have West and Winchester as west feeding schools. The advantage that gives you is it gives you a south feeding elementary school with taking Allendale to the east side. That could help with not sending kids so far from the south part all the way to Clinton Street, whereas if we can keep Allendale as an east feeding school, it may help keep a closer school for the kids on the east side. Because with West and, in this proposal, West and Winchester, you have two different parts of the west side, and you can still keep kids at a close enough school to their neighborhood. And keeping Allendale on the east would give that same ability for the east side kids that you had on the west side. So that's the offshoot of that one, is to take Allendale and move it to the east side school.
Brian, do we have more room at Potter's Road? If Potter's Road stayed, I know this is probably for the next one, but the next proposal, but if Potter's Road stayed open and we moved, let's say, Winchester kids into Potter's Road, I know parking has been an issue, at Potter's Road. Do we have more room to make parking at Potter's Road?
There is land, that's a joke question,
Yes.
because I know a lot of it,
So
like,
we
we
do.
looked at parking even at Winchester and even Clinton Street, that there are grass areas around that we think could be turned into parking.
Okay.
But, you know, a lot of that then becomes, when you turn it into parking, how much of it is aidable, you know,
Right.
and stuff like that to
But it's an
maximize that
it
parking.
would be an option for
But I
us.
think there is enough, I think at those three schools, Clinton, Potters, and Winchester, there is enough spots where you could add more parking.
Okay, thank you.
Then we have closing Winchester. Option one is where you have Clinton and Northwood as the east feeding schools, Allendale, Potters, and West as the west feeding schools. Option two is Clinton, Northwood, and Allendale as east feeding schools, and then Potters and West as the west feeding schools. Issues, Winchester is the only lighthouse school, and it draws national visitors to the district. There's good school district recognition with having that program. There would be no South Elementary School for the east, no North Elementary School for the west, and it's probably not a sellable building. It's also a Title I school, so you would have issues with moving equipment. One of the pros, you could fit all of Winchester into Potter's Road. You could pick all that school up, stick it inside Potter's Road, and it fits. It is the least amount of kids to move, and kids located on the west side of town would stay in the west track. So, you know, with things that we looked at, our thought is that if you're on the west side of Union, you should stay with the west side of the district. If you're on the east side of Union, stay at the east side of the district, and try to see, and based off of Kevin Love's numbers, that's the one that creates the equity from middle school and up, the Union Road.
Can I ask a number question? If we closed Winchester and we picked up that building and we moved them over to Potter Road, what would the capacity be? What would we have gone from? We know that we're under 50% right now at Potter's, but if we moved our Winchester friends there, what would the capacity be in that building then?
You're going to have about 600 kids,
Okay.
and you'll be right about the size of Clinton at that point. So you're going to be right about the 80%. So
That would get you at
I don't know
about.
if it's 80 though. Wait a minute, I don't think it's 80.
If it's not 80 though, Holly,
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right, all right.
the building averaged about 600 for quite a long time.
So
Okay.
you're looking at, there's 280 in Winchester,
Yeah.
Yep.
right? And then we got 330 in Potter, so that takes you to 610 kids.
Okay.
So it's right from, I think Clinton Street has what, 580, 590 right now?
Yep.
So we're within 20, 30 kids of what Clinton Street has.
Okay. Then I have one other question too, about the Lighthouse School, because I know when I attended your subcommittee meeting, at the beginning, that was something that was brought up. So I just need clarification as far as, I know that there are other schools within the district that are doing the Leader in Me program, and I know that Potter's Road is doing the Leader in Me program. So I guess my question is what differentiates you from a Lighthouse School versus a Leader in Me program? Like, I thought it was
The foundation, the company foundation actually designates Winchester is officially listed as.
Right, okay, but if Potter's Road is doing the Leader in Me program, would that be it's not the same
I
thing?
don't think it transferred.
No, it definitely doesn't, and the benefit actually specifically is that Winchester has gotten national attention, and
Right.
national visitors have been there. I'm not sure that they've been to Potter's, not sure.
But I know that one of the things that we talked about was we would hate to see, when we were looking at the other schools that that could possibly be affected, one of the things that we said is that, for instance, the Winchester kids have come so far with the Leader in Me program, but if we were to move them to Potter's Road, I guess my question is they would not, it still wouldn't be the same program?
Well, the
It's the same
principal,
program.
yeah,
It's
the same program.
There's a series of steps you go through to reach that designation. Winchester's
Okay.
gone through all the steps, the other buildings are not.
But they're
there
still
yet.
going to be doing
But
the
they're still doing
handshaking
the same
thing
program.
and still
Yeah, it's the
doing
same
the.
program. There's
So
nothing
they're
different.
so those kids aren't going to go to a place where that's not going to be happening. They're
Well,
still going to.
No, yeah, it's just an award, basically. It's a designation, kind of like, you know.
But it's the same program.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
asking.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
think
not like
there's-
as if they had come to West Elementary that doesn't do
Right,
Right.
program.
right. It's the
Okay.
same program.
That's what I'm trying. So it would be.
And Potters and Northwood are just not as far in the process because
It started
Winchester
here.
started first, right? They were the
They
first
started
school.
first,
Yep.
and
So
they're
they're
the only
far-
one with the actual designation.
Right, because they're further along.
Right.
I think
Potters,
there's-
you're working toward that though. Yeah, Potters.
I
So
think
how-
there's a serious cost to teacher training too.
But are the
Teachers
teachers
have all been trained at
have
Potter's.
been
Oh,
trained?
good.
Okay. So they've been trained at Potter's Road. They've been trained at East Senior.
Northwood and Allendale.
Okay. I'm trying
Yeah.
to wrap my
They've all
head.
been
I'm just
trained.
trying to figure out what. Okay.
It's you know, it's almost like it's something. And if you have, who knows, if you have 300 kids moving to another building, then, you know, the designation is just basically you reached your steps in this amount of time and you've done these levels. So it's not going to affect. It's literally just it's a great thing, but it's just a thing. It's not, has nothing to do with the actual guts of the program.
Okay.
How long would it take, Holly, for Potter to get the designation? Like, how long does it take a school to become a lighthouse school?
It depends on how
Yeah,
fast the school moves through the steps.
Yeah, the benchmarks are set by Franklin Covey, so we can find out what the benchmarks are. I know typically it's like certain benchmarks the first year, certain benchmarks the second year,
Yes.
certain benchmarks the third year. So it's really, I wouldn't worry about it. Like we have it, great if we keep it. If we don't, it's not, you know, but it's not something where your goal should be implementing the habits, not getting the award, and that naturally comes.
Right.
Like if you do it, you do it. If not, kids are still
I was
bringing a
just
great
wondering,
program.
so, you know, if it's, Potter's is 2 years in, and we're saying that within 4 years, Potter's and Northwood could also have the designation, then, you know, that's just something that we would know that we have other schools that are working towards the same designation.
Yeah, Winchester
And
got it,
that
and
they're-
in its second year they got it. So again, I don't know what the thing is, but like I said, I think more importantly is the program stays intact.
But Ed, you don't want to decertify Winchester, do you?
Do I want to decertify Winchester?
It sounds like you want
No.
to lessen the achievement for
No,
Winchester.
it's a great achievement. What I'm saying is I don't want to make it look like the achievement is something that can't be reached. Like the achievement can be reached. I don't know though, because it could be like a how quickly you did it thing. I don't really know anything about
Is
it.
it something that you have to keep redoing, or is once you have it, you have it?
Yeah,
Or you have to
it's like getting a Regents diploma.
Okay,
You got your Regents diploma.
yeah.
So Winchester got their Regents diploma.
But, so they don't, every year they don't have to like, I mean, you have to keep the
Recertify.
program going,
No.
but you don't have to keep,
No, once they got it, they
Okay.
got it.
okay.
No, the whole point was that there was like a disadvantage opposing Winchester.
Yes,
They
yeah.
have achieved this recognition.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Not to take away from any other school.
Right,
It's just
that's-
that they are the only one.
Yes, yes. I just didn't want to make it look like the other program is different because of that. It's a great honor.
No, same program, but
Yeah.
there would be a disadvantage opposing Winchester.
Yes.
It doesn't change that.
Oh,
It's a
absolutely.
disadvantage.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. Yeah, 100%. And if Winchester were to be mothballed, it still would be a
Be
lighthouse
gone.
school.
It would be gone. You know, or rip that right off the school. It's not a leader in the school.
Oh, well, maybe we can transfer the name over, Winchester/Potters.
Okay.
The pros for all the proposals are, we're trying to keep the kids going to their closest school. We want to get to the 5 to 8 middle school. We also want equity on the east and west side. We're going to increase the building usage. We will save money to start off with by mothballing. And try to keep the kids together from K through 12. As much as we possibly can, keep those neighborhoods together all the way up. Looking at redrawing of district maps, like I said, Kevin Love said Union Road. And then on the elementary schools, we use Union Road as well, and trying to keep the kids at their closest school. With some of the proposals saying, well, let's add Annandale as an east feeding school to see if that helps to lessen the transportation burden for some of the kids on the south side, because that is something that that our committee wants everyone to know, that one of the things we are taking into account is the amount of time a kid's going to spend on the bus. It's something that as we look at these proposals, we're just like any other parent sitting there saying, okay, if I'm at this house here, how long is my kid on the bus to go all the way over to that school? And that's some of the things that we look at and say, would we be happy as a parent with that? No? Okay, then how do we solve that problem? And that was one of the reasons why we said move Allendale to the east, because then now we can take some of the kids on the south, take them over to Allendale, and still utilize the school. So, a couple of the other...
Brian, one more thing just before you go. Do you have, for each of those proposals, do you have how many kids would be in those in the buildings then, and capacities for each of those buildings?
We don't, only because a lot of it is having to sit down with Kevin to say, here, use this benchmark, and does that work with where we come up with. Our thought is that if we came up with general guidelines for the map, and knowing full well that if a proposal is done to close the school, that even if we came up with numbers now with Kevin, that he may move a kid from one street over and things like that. Anyways, because who knows what your home's going to look like whenever the proposal is put into place. So we kind of said where would it make sense based on the current enrollment to draw the line, but knowing full well that those lines may change a little bit.
Yeah, and I can speak for Kevin to a point. He's not running all those scenarios because they generally work. There's no point in running them like exactly, because in a year everything's different anyway. So you're getting the general fields. If you close Clinton, you can move the kids around, but he can't pick exactly which streets this year because it changes every year anyway. So knowing, basically what he would look for is the school board would say, look, we're looking at one of these two proposals, run the numbers. For him to run every one of those is just not feasible, but they all work.
Well, the reason I actually have a reason that I'm asking is at the last meeting that we had, we talked about the East Middle and East High School, and the numbers that we got for those that Guy had given us were above the capacity.
Right, and that was actually Kevin Love. Those were not Guy's numbers.
Yeah, that was not Union Road.
Yeah, Kevin wasn't sure where those numbers came from, but he did run all the proposals that he has so far, and he's still working on them. It's taking him that long to work on the ones that Kevin already gave him.
What I don't want to have happen is all of a sudden we use that and then we run into the same problem on the east side. Do you know what I mean? Of where the...
Yeah, Kevin said that he wasn't sure where he got those numbers from, because they don't correlate to anything
That was the first time I saw that.
Yeah.
I had never seen that, but...
That was something that I had gotten from one of the first meetings.
But then again, no, I mean, that was not the Union Road. Union Road, when we were just spitballing in his office, really looked really good.
And he has the proposals that you gave him. How many?
No, I didn't give him proposals. All I did was
the ideas that you guys talked about.
Areas of town, and I wanted the K through 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and then high school for each of those areas, so we could add them up. And he had everything but kindergarten.
Right, and I know when I talked to him last, he was close to finishing up the last one you had asked for.
Oh.
And he actually said to me, he was amazed at how well some of them worked, but he goes, but
There
next
were
year,
a couple exceptions,
but-
but he didn't think they made sense.
but there's no exact lines, because next year, everything's different.
It's true, it's a tough rabbit
Yeah.
to chase down that hole.
Yeah.
You're never gonna catch it. And
But the amount of hours that are put into it, like to run all 6 schools, so the board would have to narrow it down more to restate, okay, these couple work, let's research and get the numbers more exact.
Couple of the other proposals we did, we're gonna do a separate proposal about moving the district offices out of West Elk into Ebenezer, so it's a separate line item, rather than making sure it's lumped in together, that it can be something that can be acted on its own. Advantages for getting them out of this building is the safety of the kids. It limits outside adult contact with the kids. It opens room for classrooms and other uses. And Ebenezer is centrally located in the town. The disadvantage is there's less room for district events. Now we asked what sort of district events there were, but I did say that there's stuff that the administration does, and that Holly mentioned that the schools enjoy when administration gets rotated among the various schools, because it gives them their time to shine their building for the administration. So that would be the impact on the district, is that they may have to rotate where
Is that a
district events are
positive
held,
and a negative?
but yeah, it's a positive and a negative. So Holly felt it was a positive for Potters. Then the other thing we brought up was universal pre-K. And there are 3 different options that we spoke about for universal pre-K. Option 1 was you put a UPK building or UPK class in each building. Advantage is kids may go to the elementary school they will attend, and it's easier for pickup and drop off because it's lower amount of students at each school that it's happening with. The disadvantage is if your elementary school is full, you would have to attend another school. Another one would be that classes may not fill up.
So the kids aren't placed in UPK based on where they live, they're based on where they sign up? What does that mean, you have to go to your school?
I believe it's you suggest what you're recommending, you have a choice. You say, here's the first choice of the school that I want to go to. And the school, and I think the school district says if there's room in that class within that school, we'll move you to that school. If there's not, the school can put you in whichever other building that they want at that point. So you're giving the choice, but if it's full by the time you register, then you're out of luck. You go to whichever school has an opening. Correct, Brian?
Yeah, it's pretty darn close to what it is, absolutely. That's why right now we have one on the east side and one on the west side. 3 classrooms on the east, 3 on the west.
One of the disadvantages, teachers may not be able to plan with each other. If full daycare is needed, there's no way to transport kids to another facility. And it spreads enrollment out, so it doesn't really help out with any building capacity.
What does that mean if full?
If full daycare is needed, no way to transport kids. So
Does that happen now?
We don't transport the kids.
Yeah, we don't transport them now, but it was just a way of saying, because some people have mentioned about what's the advantage of an outside pre-K versus the school's pre-K.
Oh, yeah.
The outside pre-K is if you go into EduKids or whatever one of those places are, if you need full daycare, they're in that facility, you're just paying for the afternoon session.
Okay.
Morning session's covered through pre-K. Your afternoon session, you pay, and your kids are at the same location.
So that was listed as a negative?
Right.
Okay.
Seeing that,
So because we have right now, we have what, 10%, minimum of 10% needs to be outsourced.
Correct.
And so we meet the minimum 10% guideline to meet the grant. So that is one of the drawbacks. So if somebody does need afternoon care, you have to come and get your kid to take them there at that point.
Cool.
So, impact on the district. UPK is not mandated, and it does use some space in each of the elementary buildings. So, any questions on that one? Okay. Another proposal is, we know that Westell and Northwood have a lot of empty space. So one option would be to say, take all of UPK and put it in one of those two buildings. And now you're able to utilize a lot more building capacity by putting a lot more students in that particular building. There are separate entrances that can be used. There are large parking lots for both of them to help with the pickup and drop off. Teachers can work together, makes planning easier, and obviously we increase the building capacity usage at the school that it goes into. The disadvantage is, neither one of those schools is centrally located. Drop off and pickup does disrupt the building, and we know that it's a lot larger drop off and pickup, so there would be more disruption to whichever building is chosen. And again, if full daycare is needed in that capacity, you still don't have any way to transport the kids. It's up to the parents to do that. So the impact on the district, it's a non-mandated program. It increases building utilization and disrupts the school with drop off and pickup. And last but not least, you have, the last option is, proposal is, you still offer UPK, but it's 100% done at outside facilities. It's our understanding that the grant still applies from 10% to 100%, so the grant is still available to the school, even if it's done 100% outside. Advantages is it frees classroom space and there's no building disruption. Disadvantage is it's not a huge budget impact. Universal Pre-K is roughly $350,000 over its budget. You put that on a $105 million budget, it's 0.3%. So in the grand scheme of things, we say $350,000 is a lot of money, but against a $105 million budget, it's not as much money as you're thinking as the loss goes. And that's a lot of it is because there's a grant that offsets 2/3, 70% of that cost that's out there. The impact is you will save money on personnel and supplies, but one of the things that we are realistic on is the one person pointed out that you have UPK students, teachers making $80,000. Well, even if you were to cut teachers from the district, those teachers have been here a while. They're not the ones being cut. So if you think that cutting UPK is going to save $80,000 in salaries across the board, you're sadly mistaken, because those aren't the teachers that are going to be cut. The teachers that are lower on the system are going to get cut. So you're not seeing, you can't say that 80,000 times 12 teachers, oh, we just saved $1 million by cutting it. No, you didn't, because those teachers are still staying on the payroll.
It's a really good point, Brian.
So we know that you're going to see a lower savings on it. And plus two is, there still is, even if you move it outside of it, if you take the grant, it's all up to what the outside school and how the negotiation with the school district goes with that facility. There's no guarantee that the outside facility is going to do it for what the amount is per kid. You're going to find that there's some that'll come in lower, some that'll come in higher, and you're just hoping that the one that comes in lower can fit all the UPK students. So there still is, there isn't, by getting rid of UPK from the district, it isn't the magic bullet to say UPK will come in at grant budget no matter what. That's not the case. You still could have, if you were able to spend $2,800 a kid for UPK and the school charged $3,000 a kid, the school district's still picking up the $200 because you can't charge the parents for it. So there are some, it doesn't, getting rid of it doesn't necessarily solve the problem either. So that's why we have the three different thought processes.
I think the other thing too about keeping the UPK in district, or 90% of the UPK in district, I think that you've got more control of your program. So you're going to have, by having more control of your program, hopefully your outcome for your students is going to be at a consistent level. You know, when I'm sure that there is a curriculum and so forth that they still have to follow. However, when you're in control of that 90% of that curriculum, again, our little 4-year-old friends that are there, we want them coming into kindergarten at having met certain things.
Except for 10% of them though that have to be out. But I know as a parent, I wish I could get my kids into the private one because then I could keep them in the daycare. Like if that was an option. So a plus for that would be there would be a lot more parents that could have full time daycare with, like my kids don't get to go to UPK because I need them to be babysat the rest of the day. So that's why we go to Doodlebugs full day. And I pay, I think, something like $500 a week. So that would be an option for me to be eligible, or more parents would be eligible to save on money for education. Because I could be at EduKids. I didn't even know I was eligible for that. Like, can I get on the EduKids one? Like, is that a list or something?
You gotta wait.
Yeah.
You gotta wait.
Hey, they're coming though.
No, I know. I'm just saying they're a little too early yet.
No, but I gotta wait till that year.
You have to wait
Okay.
to register.
Yeah. Yeah. But I would volunteer for the 10%.
One more point of clarification, it's not 12 teachers in the UPK program, right?
8,
They're
correct?
half-day classes, so
Six.
there's only,
Six.
yeah, there's only 6
Six
teachers. right?
And 6 8, right? 6 teachers, 6 8. Right. So there's, yeah.
12 people.
So there's 6 classroom teachers, just to clarify, 6 classroom teachers and 6 classroom aides.
And each classroom teacher works with 36 children.
Right, so they have a morning session and they have an afternoon session.
And that's required in the grant, that there's someone in there to assist the teacher.
Gotcha.
That's part of the grant requirement.
Now, Brian, when it does come to the ones that go to outside, is that the choice of the parent that signs up? Like,
Yeah.
so do they say choice 1 is
Yes.
EduKid?
Yep.
So that's them?
You rate your site choice, and then you rate your morning and afternoon choice, and then they slot you in to the best of their ability. And the only considerations I know of, and correct me if I'm wrong, are that usually children with special needs are slotted in first to their first choices because they have special needs that have to be met. So that, but otherwise it's not a lottery so much anymore, but it's like
Is income based on it at all or anything?
No, you don't provide any income information at all.
What if you had, just as a throwing it out there, well, let's say we have 10% of the, right now 10% is done outside. But let's say you had 20% of the people that applied to universal pre-K put in that they need some sort of after school, like afternoon program. Would the school district at that point say, well, geez, rather than do 10% out, this year we'll do 20% out to meet their needs? Or is it 10%, the first ones that come in that get that, they get that priority, then the other ones that don't, that's kind of where it's stuck?
You're asking some great questions, but if I can be honest, these are questions that are well beyond the scope, I think, of this commission, to be honest with you. We do have flexibility in how we choose to, keep kids in the district or move kids out. So we definitely established some flexibility and administrative control over that. So right now we have 10% out, and we believe strongly that having the kids in-house is the best for our kids. So yes, is there flexibility? Sure. Those decisions are made by the district administrators that oversee the program. Down the road, I think it's really, really important to understand that the New York State Education Department seems to really embrace the idea of preschool education, and they've offered some grants recently for other districts, particularly in New York City, to make it a full-day program. So if those are the trends, it may very well be that there will be more state money given to schools across the state, not just in New York City, to offer full-day programs. So I think, just to be blunt, I think that this is an evolving early intervention initiative by the state, and I think there's probably more good news to come, even in a bad economy. I think there's more good news to come because the state really does seem to embrace the whole idea of preschool.
Well,
So
they want to make
might see
preschool
some
the
new-
old kindergarten.
We might see some new monies we're already seeing the opportunity to apply for grants. The grants are so small though, there's about 40, there's probably about 40 million outside of this New York City that was available.
Right.
That- Yeah, so right now, it's just not enough for all of the districts to apply for, but we're starting to see the change and the shift in offering full-day pre-kindergarten. So it just might be just a matter of time before it's even a moot to, I'm not saying don't spend time and energy on it, but I think we may see that the state will just tell us, here's more money for.
There's
for
a lot
full-day
of
preschool.
chatter. There's a lot of chatter at the state level on it right now.
I
So-
also think you'd be pressed to find enough daycares in West Seneca that would house
Well, it used to
more
be,
percentage. There's not that many.
well, it used to be private up until like 6 years ago, and we chose to bring them in. And I think the 10% would be here if we had to too, right? If it wasn't a mandate?
What's your question?
We would be 100%.
If we didn't have to do 10%?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. So 6 years ago, I think they brought it in from 100%. They brought it in to the buildings, so.
Okay.
And then the last, we don't have the proposal here, but I did notice that we did have somebody mention in the questions about not liking the fifth graders in the middle school. Is that something that, all of our proposals here work on 5 to 8. Is it something that you want my committee to work on as far as pulling up is 6 to 8 middle school on east and west, and then K through 5 the rest of the way? Just to, I don't know, it was in there, so I don't know, is that something that
Well, I
we
think
want to
that,
address, or is that something that we don't?
I think it's something that at the beginning, when I say the beginning, I'm, months down the road, that we as a group decided that we felt strongly about that it was one of our silver bullet moments. We wanted a 5-8. So I think we can, readdress, I think we can say it again, but I think that was something that we as a group had said and felt strongly about, that we were looking to make both sides of town, equitable. And I don't think, and I might be speaking out of turn, but I don't see the district saying we're looking at going back to a 6 to 8 building. I think they've already made that move of a 5-8. Bob?
It's, what you're saying is true, but I think the concern boils down to fifth graders interacting with eighth graders. And if we're able to keep some separation, 5-6 versus 7-8, that may appease a lot of concern.
And I think that the building administrators within those buildings, that's really something that they kind of focus on. And even though the east side middle school looks different than the west side middle school, I think that the administrators in both of those buildings are able to do that. It may not be a mirrored image as far as the hallways or whatever, what they look like, but I do think that they try to keep the kids within the confinement of specific wings, as they call them at West Middle. But I think that, I'm just speaking for myself, I think that we've already made that commitment that we're looking at a 5-8. Does anybody, Bob?
Well, we also were looking for some empirical evidence explaining the benefits of one way versus the other. And that may also be something that would help.
Well, I think when Dr. Crawford addressed that at the first meeting, and then I think Ann Bonicelli also addressed that when we had different experts from the district. So I think that we did get some information regarding that at both of those avenues.
I would like to see something coming from outside the district.
Okay.
And I think probably falsely, comments being made that personal agendas are taking over. If we could show some national studies.
Well, I think that the research that Ann Bonicelli was talking about was what New York State was telling us. So,
But we'll get it up. For the next meeting, we'll have something to share.
I think it's a good idea. It's a good idea because it seems to be a question we're getting a lot.
So do you want to just, I mean, are you guys done with your proposals?
Yeah, is there anything else to share?
Well, no, that's all the proposals that we came up with. We were doing one.
If you're all set, if you want to do it though, I mean, you were telling people that we're transparent, do it.
Okay,
Right.
okay, we're gonna hold you to that though.
What?
well, no,
Look-
wait a second.
Look at the pros and cons of.
We'll get you some data about middle schools. We'll take care of that. We have experts that will get that for you.
Do it on.
I guess let's go back and let's
on your
just
report.
make sure that as a commission, that we're saying that I know that we want to see the research and we will get some additional research, but are we still on the field that we want a 5-8?
I think that this kind of started because I'm on the committee and I'm the one who brought it up. There were some parents who have said to me that they don't like the 5 to 8. Why isn't it 6 to 8 consistent on both sides? So I think that it's important that we're consistent on both sides of town. But maybe it's just worth looking into a proposal that says, okay, we're all these proposals are looking at making it 5 to 8 on both sides. What would it look like if it were 6 to 8 on both sides? How would that impact the kids? Would you be able to do that without shifting kids from east to west? Could it happen faster? It just seemed like a lot of people are asking about it, and we're the fact finders, so it makes sense that we would look into it.
And I have to agree, the more people that say things to me are people that are concerned about it, obviously, more than anything else. You know, people aren't coming up to me and asking me about building closures, they're asking, why do they really want to move from Heritage to West Meadow? Yeah, I don't know. So, you know, I would have to agree that that's where what I'm hearing is mostly that too. I don't know if anyone else.
Well, the big thing I hear is people asking is, it seems that we need to move a lot of kids around to accomplish the 5 to 8. And the biggest question I'm wondering is, if you did do 6 to 8, would it lessen how many kids how much you need to move kids around to various schools?
It may not be feasible.
So is the question that looking at 6 to 8 would include East Middle School? Changing that to 6 to 8?
It's a good question that you brought up because that kind of started with me. I got cornered by a woman who wrote up a proposal. I said, well, give me a proposal. But I said, all ours are 5 through 8, including all the ones we did. They're all 5 through 8.
Right.
Because those are the parameters we have to live by. But her proposal, and again, she's right. She's right. Because I said exactly what Brian said. The toughest part of running through some of these proposals is it seems like we're jamming a round peg into a square hole. But you can do it if you want to. When you have all those parameters that you have to live by, some of them didn't make 100% sense. And the woman that cornered me, her point was, it seemed like that closing East Elementary didn't save any money. And based on what Brian Schultz said when he was here, she's absolutely right. We're not getting that money for mothballing a building. You still have it open so you have the staff there. And it was only done to accommodate a 5 through 8 middle school when there was no building that could do so on the east side of town. And her concern was that on the west side of town, there's not a building that can do it either. That you would actually have to jam a round peg into a square hole and move things around to accommodate that without really saving money.
So Guy, my original question was, are you talking about changing East Middle to a 6 to 8 building?
Well, this
Yeah,
one was. Yes.
Our thought is that, because I think we've all agreed here, is that you would do equality on both sides. One idea is 5 to 8 on both sides. If you did 6 to 8, then you do 6 to 8 on both sides.
So you would actually disrupt what's going on the east side to look at this proposal.
Except those kids wouldn't be in the middle school and being pulled out, they would just stay in their elementary.
Yeah, so they wouldn't be disruptive, she's got a
So
point.
they
Wait,
wouldn't be.
The 5th graders wouldn't leave the campus?
No.
Well, no, because they would 5th would go to 6th, and they're already in that.
They're already in
the
school.
4th
Right, but
graders.
you wouldn't put
going
5th
up.
graders in there.
No,
You would not put new fifth graders in.
No,
Right.
so no one would get disrupted.
Right, no, that,
Yeah.
so here, please understand,
Yeah.
even though, Guy, you said something that was really important, that there wasn't a tremendous amount of savings immediately, okay? It's incremental. So phase one is to make the East Middle campus at its capacity, keep it at its capacity. So what you guys are suggesting is to take 200 kids, or whatever it is, and not use the capacity of East Middle, and have those kids stay somewhere else, right? So once you have done a good job in maximizing the capacity of that campus, right, then the savings comes from closing the school, right? And that's where the labor costs are, incurred with the savings. So to say, we're going to explore going at, 6 to 8, we're going to change the east side to 6 to 8, keep West Middle at 6 to 8, you're going to have a capacity issue, right? You're going to keep them somewhere else, and you're still going to have to close a school somewhere in the district.
Right.
You
Right.
said it, but, here's the big but. You could still close the school, but it would be a school that would make more sense than the one you already closed. Because if you did away with the fifth grade, okay, and you reopened East Elementary as an elementary, you could close Northwood, and you'd have one elementary on one side of town, one on the other side.
Yeah, you just said something important, but you may have misspoke. Did you say open East Elementary up as a school?
Yes, that's what I was trying to get at.
So here's something just to, kind of feed your thinking. Then you need a principal. And you need a whole new staff to make East Elementary an elementary school.
Valid point, but you'd be closing another elementary school. So you'd have a principal put in there.
You could still close the school on the west side?
You could still close the school on the west side. This would not upset that plan at all.
So you're talking about closing a school.
We would actually close 2 schools, and you'd garner 2 schools closings. Right now, you have none. You closed this elementary school, but you reopened as a middle school. That school is still open.
But my daughter goes to East Middle, she's one of the fifth graders there, they have reconstructed the school, the library has changed, the office has changed, I mean, things that would all have to be redone again. You'd have to have a new office, you'd have to have more security,
Yes.
the gym would,
Something like
everything
that.
would have to be reconstructed
So
again.
I think really what comes down to is, do you want to bother looking into it or not? Is really what it
That's
comes down
what
to.
we're saying. You want to bother.
We decided to look into it at all because we have parents who have approached various people on the committee and specifically asked about it. So we know there are issues, and we're not saying this is a perfect plan, but maybe we should write it up as a proposal.
But it could rule out
because
doing it.
It could rule it out completely,
We said,
or
don't even, it's
at
not, we're not
least
going
we
back.
looked at it, and the parents, we could then say to those parents who are approaching us, well, we did talk about that, and these are the reasons why it really
Like,
wouldn't
whatever,
work.
what's the cost of that
Hey,
Joe.
construction?
Question for you,
reverse.
because obviously you were heavily involved in redoing East Middle. How much money was spent reconstructing East Middle? Because obviously that would be, if we go this road, then that's pretty much money you threw out the window. And that's obviously not something that,
It would be a disadvantage.
that's a very big disadvantage.
You're over $100,000 now. Between the library, we eliminated cafeteria, there's been some changes.
Okay.
That answers it?
I think the other thing too, and we keep talking when we close a building that really where our biggest saving is staff. So though we may not have saved a ton of money in closing East Elementary, we did save some essential personnel. Like we lost a principal, we lost a nurse, we lost a social worker. Like so we did lose some staff in there, Guy, not maybe a ton that we're thinking. I don't know what, I wasn't involved in that, nor was this commission, so we don't really have that information in front of us as to what that was. But just looking at it from the outside in, we would have saved some. How much, I don't know, but there would have been a little bit. You know what I mean? I don't know how much though.
Many of the comments that we're getting about the 5-8, 6-8 are parents who come up with a simple plan. that is not simple. And not to criticize them, but all of us have learned a lot more than we knew 6 months ago about the whole operation. But the question I ask is two. One, you look for some educational evidence of a benefit, one way or the other. And two, to show the people who brought up the 6 to 8 model that we did give it consideration.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean, I think that, you know, I think we can certainly do that. I think, as Lauren said, we'll know one way or another. And again, we're the fact finders. We find the facts, we pass them on. It's not this group that's making the final decision. So, I mean, the Board of Education already went with the 5-8 model on the east side of town. It's their prerogative and their decision whether they want to keep that on the west side of town or whether they want to change it. So, if I've got a couple, go ahead, Guy.
Joe, I got a question for you. Obviously, the biggest issue we have with West Middle is size. Because if we look at it, if we look at logistics of the two sides, you got the smaller middle school going to the higher high school. Because West Senior holds more students than East Senior, but yet East Middle holds more students than West Middle. Would it be possible, feasible, whatever it is, to put an addition onto West Middle that would increase its size, that would maybe allow the 5 to 8 to happen sooner? You know, just things like that. Like if you look at an addition, because obviously you don't have an idea.
Brian, is yes. Today the state won't let us do that because we have buildings underutilized.
Okay.
As soon as we drop some of them off, other options open to us. Today we can't do it. The state won't fund us. Once we downsize a little bit, yes, they will.
Do they have certain parameters for
It's a
that?
really good
or-
question.
Yeah, they do.
That's what I was just
Really
wondering,
good
because if we can
question.
add something, then we can get
Yes.
fifth graders in there maybe in 2-3 years versus 5-6
Right.
years. You know, and maybe that's a way too to address. A lot of people like on the east side, 5th and 6th, there's a division between 5th and 6th and 7th and 8th. There's physical division. So maybe that's something with an addition that could be accomplished at West Middle, because West Middle right now is 3 wings. And last I checked, 3 doesn't divide by 2 very nicely. So that's why I just wondered if that was something. But obviously downsizing first would
Yes.
free up the option to potentially build out West Middle.
They won't fund you if you're not using your buildings to capacity.
And mothballing the building works well, because then that doesn't come into the equation.
Correct.
Good.
We could, you know, and where I was gonna go with this, please, if you don't mind if I
Oh,
chime in right
yes.
now.
Can you hang on one second? Debbie had a question.
Just a comment, I've also been approached by several parents concerned about the maturity level of a 5th grader compared to the maturity level of a 6th, 7th, and 8th grader. In every instance, though, they were West Side parents, and they didn't seem to understand how the delineation has been done on the east side between the 5th and 6th and the 7th and 8th. These are parents who are very concerned that their 5th grader was going to be sitting in cafeteria with an 8th grader. They don't understand, for whatever reason, they don't understand that, you know, the district's very aware that a 5th grader can be, you know, playing with Hot Wheels and Barbie dolls while an 8th grader can be shaving. The district knows that. Parents don't all understand that they're working hard to make that delineation. And I think that's a point that really needs to be stressed somehow to our West Side parents. that are
Right, and we did
about
at the 2 public forums. We did
Right.
talk about that.
It's not clicking.
Well, and it's a big concern, and you know, I mean, it's definitely a big concern. So I think that we'll look and see what the research is on a 5-8 and a 6-8.
Because I will say that the only other thing I've heard from people from East Middle that I've spoken to is a concern regarding programming.
Yeah.
That, you know, some programming has changed this year, and now they don't think that it's the same program that the West Side is getting.
Music
So
specifically.
It could be something that you know.
Positive, I don't.
It's negative. It's saying that things are being taken out of the schedule now at East Middle because of not having enough schedule time.
Right.
But I don't know if
I'd be
that's.
happy to talk to you about it now or after the meeting.
Now would be best, because I think she's going to want to watch that film. With this woman in particular said, no, she's in the west side of town, not east side of town. And I told her we would check into it to see if it was so. She said, oh no, it be so. I just wanted it addressed. She said that the fifth graders on the east side of town are getting music once every 3 days for 6 months, for half a year, I should say. Where on the west side of town, fifth graders in the elementary schools actually get it once every 2 days the whole year. So on the west side of town, fifth graders are actually getting more programming, more music than the ones on the east side of town in the 5th grade configuration. This is what her concern was. She said, this is definitely so, this is how it is. I don't know if that's true or not.
Well, take a look. I'd be happy.
But if it's so,
I'll talk to
she's right,
Sharon
she has a
Lochran.
point.
Well, it's a point, but what's important for everybody to understand is that the middle school requirements for music are different. Okay, the state offers general music as a course that children can take in middle school. Okay, if you're already taking band and chorus, you don't need general music. Okay, if you're already taking 2 musics, you don't need a 3rd music.
I think this is in relation to general music. I actually think it is.
Yeah. So sometimes people are misunderstood. We offer orchestra and chorus, band and chorus. Children can take 2 musics in middle school, but not 3. So that specific question, I can share it with Sharon Lochran because she's the principal there. But I can tell you that as a middle school principal, this is a common misunderstanding, that children who choose not to do band or orchestra or chorus get slotted into general music.
Okay, and that's the same if you're a 5th grader in elementary school?
Well, Holly, you can talk about how the elementary school, did you say elementary?
Yeah, 5th graders that are on the west side of town.
Our 5th graders have 2 general musics. They're just learning instruments, so that's an extra thing. So they do end up with 3 musics. But in exchange, they don't have AIS periods, they don't have
What's an
activities.
AIS period?
They have built-in periods at the middle school to give them opportunities to work with them during school when they're struggling with content areas. We don't have that built into our schedule.
At the middle school, a music class for kids that are in band and all that is kind of a waste of, I mean, if I'm wrong on that, but it would almost be like taking like high-end math, but then also taking beginner for math. Right? Isn't basic music class at the middle school for the kids that don't interested in moving on in music? And then, like, if you're taking band and stuff, you should already know the stuff taught in basic music? Or am I completely just...
Well,
different things.
Okay.
Yeah.
And children can choose not to do band or orchestra or chorus, but then they get general music.
Right, that's what I'm asking, yeah.
And the other point to what Holly's saying is that children in middle school have other courses that they can also choose that are not available
Right.
at the elementary, such as family consumer science, technology courses. So there's lots of opportunities at the middle school. And honestly, and Lauren, you're probably aware, we have a lot of teachers wanting the children to have the equity of 5, 6, 7, and 8 on both sides of town because of the great opportunities that children have in the 5, 6, 7, 8 configuration. So there's definitely, we hear it, Dr. Crawford hears it from the elementary teachers, little committee or liaison group that meets with him all the time. They've been asking about this equity to be fixed. And quite honestly, children are getting they're getting exposed to many different courses at the middle school than at the elementary school.
I think what we're saying though is the concerns we're getting are from the parents, obviously maybe different than the teachers. They're saying they're concerned the opposite way.
Right, but hopefully that response from Holly and I helps you to at least communicate to this person that there are many classes that are offered at the middle school that are not offered at the elementary school.
Oh, and that, you know, like you said, there very well could be other things that kid's taking.
Yep.
And the parents focusing on, well, this is being cut from my kid's program. And obviously me not having a kid in middle school or high school, I haven't the slightest clue what's going on in those buildings, other than what we learn at these meetings. So if somebody says this is cut from the program, I'm looking at it going, okay, I'm taking your word for it. I don't know any different.
Okay.
But if you turn around and say, well, yeah, but if the person takes this or this, then that takes out, they're electing something else other than the other semester of music. We're giving them that option, and that's what they're choosing, which would work better, because now you're allowing the kid to choose what's good for them.
And a family that's interested in band or orchestra not only work as an ensemble with the teacher, but they also get private lessons in small groups, upward to 5 or so, which is very, it's amazing. So if your children ever experience that, hopefully you'll get the opportunity to experience that soon.
And I could say, just from personal experience, I was worried about my 5th grader going. And the clubs, the activities, and she's been promoted from 5th grade band to 6th grade band. So she's been able to grow, whereas if she was only going, do you know what I mean? She's been able to experience more things in the activities, the clubs.
We're looking at, we're talking whole discussions on pros and cons of 5th and 6th grade and 6th through 8. If we're not looking at it, then we can talk about it
Do we want
afterward
to,
if we want to.
do you want to vote to see if you guys want us to do that, or do we want to wait for, is the vote to do it, or is the vote to wait to see what the,
Well, no, because we're on a little bit of a time clock as far as weeks go. I mean, I don't want to say, October 2nd, hey guys, by the way. Okay, do we want to look at, I guess our question is would we like a proposal put together for a 6 to 8 middle school program?
Pros and cons.
Pros and cons.
6 through 8, would this proposal also be leaving?
Would be both
East
sides
and
of
west?
town.
Okay, but could the proposal include leaving west alone and east alone right now too? Because we said that.
Well, we are the fact finders, we can do both.
Right, as I'm saying is almost leave it alone, which will show that we have to wait 5 years before it could happen. So, sorry, but yeah, the proposal would be all entailing.
well, I don't think one of our proposals would be 6 to 8 west, 5 to 8 east, because then you have the inequality of the 5th graders on both sides of town.
I think it needs
So I
to be
think
mirrored,
it would have to
whatever.
be mirrored no matter what you
Okay,
do.
that's what I just wanted clarification,
So-
because, one of the options is the reason if we just wanted to wait and not redistrict, it's 5 years. So that's already been addressed, so I apologize for opening the mouth.
I really think that it needs to be a mirrored program, whatever the program is. Bob?
We've got the 5 to 8, and it appears to be working, but other people don't understand it. If we take the tact of getting more information out on the benefits of 5 to 8, that may bring the result we want anyway.
So that would be under the pros and cons.
Yes.
Do we want
So do we vote for
Raise
it?
or-
Yes, so so all in favor of looking at a district-wide mirrored image 6 to 8 middle school? So we're not going to look at that. It's 9 to 7. Let's try it. Let me count. Make sure I counted because it's close. Okay. All in favor? 7.
You're not counting the camera, are
No. Okay. So no. So we won't look at that. We will look at the benefits of a 5 to 8. We'll continue to look at the benefits of a 5 to 8.
you? Cool.
Okay. All right. Joe.
Just as Bob has said many times, that as we go, every day we're learning something new. Originally, one of our things was 5 to 8 and also moving district office. District office was moved to Ebenezer. As we evolve and the state has set down rules to us, so it's not advantageous to sell a building. Understand I'm against mothballing, okay? My personal opinion is, if you're not gonna use it, get rid of it. But the state makes it so that we can't financially do that. So what I've been working on is proposals that'll piggyback your guys, which will be, whatever building you guys talk about. I'm looking at the possibilities of putting district office there, separating them, renting the other part of the building, moving, all of pre-K there, I'm looking at several options that will piggyback yours, and I'm looking at it from fire codes, building codes, how we can, legally do that. Just wanted to let you guys know that, with the new information I got from the state, I'm kind of going down a different path than just saying, yeah, you're going to Ebenezer. There might be a better solution out there as we propose to the board.
Well, that's good, because I think you're the best person to know what we can do with these buildings. I think as we all look around this table, I don't have the slightest clue what you would do with a school building when you close it. It's like, to me, it just sits there. And if there's something to do other than mothball it, and it, still reduces, if it reduces operating costs and you're only using part of the building and there's a way to generate revenue off of it,
well, because like
great,
Lisa
more
said,
power to
it's
it.
staffing. If we rent it out, we don't have the, our staffing. If we move district office, we have district office personnel, but we don't have staffing there. So there is money savings with repurposing the building also. Unless someone offers us $1.4 billion, then I suggest we sell.
The one thing that I would say about that is I think we want to be, I guess my thought is we want to be cautious about where the district office is putting our pre-K in unless we can specifically, separate them with walls and everything, because if we're moving children out of this building for safety reasons, or not moving children, moving administration out of this building rather for safety reasons, I don't think we want to put our little vulnerable 4-year-olds.
And that is the way I'm looking at it, Lisa.
Yep,
I can legally
perfect.
put up, double set of doors, for segregation, separate entrances. That's the way I'm looking at it as I move forward.
So I think that's important to note,
Right.
that we're going to have that ability.
So just so we kind of know, what are some of the other uses you come up with for the building?
You can rent it to BOCES. BOCES is looking for space lots of times. It just,
Oh, okay.
if you rent it to, renting it a business, I'm not sure at this point. I mean, this all just kind of evolved in the last little bit when the state said, no, we're gonna stop your money if you sell it. We're gonna keep giving you money if you keep it, so.
And it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you keep it, you get that money.
Exactly, right, it was a game changer.
Okay? All right. So I think that's important to know, that we may have some, different abilities for the district office. Okay. All right, so thank you again to all of those people that have been working. And I know Eric isn't here tonight, but the people that had been meeting with his group, if you wouldn't mind staying after for just a minute or two, and we'll try to figure out when we might be able to meet, to firm that up a little bit too. Okay, so the next thing,
Don't make it next Thursday, 'cause that's when we'll meet again.
okay, well, we may have to,
Yeah, we don't have much time.
yeah, we may have to piggyback. Quickly, I'd like to talk a little bit about the board meeting presentation, which is scheduled for November 3rd. I did receive a correspondence from Nicole, who is the district clerk. She works for the Board of Education. And she emailed me to say that we are going to be presenting to the board on November 3rd. However, we will be presenting after the board meeting. So it will not actually be during the regular board meeting. It'll be after the board meeting. It'll still be a public meeting, a private meeting in public. I can never get that right. So it will still be where people can come and they can listen. And we'll be giving the information to the board. So,
Lisa, do you have any idea what time that will be?
Yeah, I actually can't be here.
okay, well, that's when that's gonna,
Yeah.
okay, all right. Okay, so, I don't. I mean,
like, I don't know
usually,
how long.
usually the board meetings last an hour, sometimes an hour and a half. I'm trying to think, Mr. Graham, how long was the meeting on Monday? I
It was a
can't.
little longer
We
than
won't talk
normal.
about that one, right?
Okay.
But yeah,
Long.
Do they
It
start
really
at
just
7?
depends on the agenda.
They start at 6:30.
Oh, they start at 6:30.
Usually until 8.
heard that one's the one that they're.
Yeah,
gonna
it's
be
the board
presenting some-
appreciation meeting.
yeah. So there's gonna be a lot of kids at that one and.
That's why they're
presenting
think
stuff to the
that-
Do we
Yeah.
want to move it to the next meeting?
The next meeting isn't until December. We need to present it, there's not another meeting in November.
Oh, there's
They're on a
not.
once a month cycle.
Unless they want
Well,
to
that-
schedule a specific meeting for this, which wouldn't be a bad idea.
'Cause, I mean, I don't know any parents in Winchester that aren't coming that night. So that's another thing to keep in mind.
That are or are not?
That are, everyone I know is coming. So just to keep that in mind too.
Okay.
For the recognition or? the
No,
reports?
no. For the 3-minute talk thing, the voice your opinion, thing.
From what I understand, and again, this was in the email that I received from the district clerk, that it will be a separate meeting after the board meeting. So I would think that they'll close the board meeting and then that'll start. So I'm thinking it'll probably be 8 o'clock. Whether or not that is a board meeting, so we're just a presenter. Whether or not in that second half there will be an opportunity for public comment, I do not know. I can ask. And traditionally, public comment happens prior to the board business, so it would happen prior to the presentations.
How many board members are there, or / how many people like attend the board meeting that we would give a copy?
You mean
to both?
the board is made up of 7 board members, and then also sitting at the table would be Dr. Crawford, Nicole, who is the district clerk, Mr. Graham, Mrs. Bonicelli, Dr. Phelan, Jan Lewandowski. Did I forget anybody?
And are we safe to assume all of them are going to stick around for our
Yes.
proposal presentation?
Yes, I would assume, correct? Don't you think, Mr. Graham? So if you get me all of your stuff, if you email me everything, I will have Nicole print everything for the board. We'll have
Put it
packets.
in a nice little binder.
Yeah, but we can do that. We can color code them. Ed and I can, what my thought is that Ed and I would present. If anybody else would like to be a part of that presentation team, I think, we want to get the information to them, be able to answer any questions. I don't know that they're going to have questions right off the bat until they actually have an opportunity to read and view and see. But if anybody would like to be a part of that presentation team, if you want to let me know, we'll figure that out. If you think we need to do a PowerPoint, I'm kind of just what you're thinking we need. Bob?
We're not going into that meeting saying we voted on these are the order of importance that we believe. We're just listing A through Z for your consideration, right? They're not expecting us to endorse one over the other?
No. Nope. And I don't think, it doesn't sound like, but correct me if I'm wrong, it doesn't sound like we've kicked any of them out. Do you know what I mean? Like, it sounds like whatever proposals we've gone through, we're going to give them.
But we've had discussions about the importance of music and art and athletics and all that. This isn't the time for that.
We will give them the value survey that was done on Monkey survey thing. We will give them a copy of that, okay? So we'll give them a copy of that, because I think that's really important. We'll also, bless you, we'll give them a copy of, that's our top priorities, but we'll also give them a list of our needs and wants. What else do we think we need to include? That's a good point. So we'll give them the value, the needs and wants, all the proposals.
Probably the first page would be a copy of the mission statement.
Yep. And we can do these in a binder with, you know, tabs and, you know, so that they can flip through. 1 would be the mission statement, 2 would be the values with the needs and wants, 3 would be the proposals.
Now, when is our next meeting for this commission?
You were the meeting, you were.
It's gonna be
looking at the
after the
dates.
board meeting, right?
No, we have one more scheduled.
I believe it was the 23rd.
23rd, location to be determined.
Because I don't know, like, is that something that this binder, we want to have that binder? Don't know. I'm thinking that
we have to-
23rd is tough.
Yeah.
Is that enough time for us to get everything we have done?
I don't know.
But is it possible to, like, is that your goal, is to have this binder put together to review at the next meeting? Or is that something that, because I don't know, proposal-wise, I'm hoping to have all that stuff put together.
I
but
think
don't
that,
know.
I think that we can have the top, let's put it this way, I think we can have that top portion of the binder ready. I think that bottom part, I think we could be pulling that together within the couple days before.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? I don't think that, are you guys okay with that?
Yeah,
You know what I
I'm
mean?
just looking
But
for
we
more
can
time to
have-
put it all together, that's all.
But we can have that first part of it ready. Okay, anything else that we want to include in there? No? What? Well, we've been saying that that's when we've been doing it.
Between 6:30 and 8:30, I was planning on being working with 10. So,
I just got the email from them.
yeah, but I mean, we
Should
should.
we boast with the number of dates that we
I'm
met
probably the only
in
one here
full
that's looking
committee
at that the whole time.
and in committee,
That's what I was looking at
Yeah.
the whole time.
Yep, I can put that together, Bob, the dates, that amount of time. Yep. Both committee and subcommittee. Okay. Anything else? Okay.
You don't need any, like, did you say dates and hours that the subcommittees put in?
Yeah, I kind of know your dates a little bit, but, and I mean, I know it's a lot of hours. So, because I think you're here actually, am I correct, Mr. Janik, that it's your anniversary tonight?
Yes, it is.
Happy anniversary to your
Oh my
wife.
gosh. Are you still married?
Yes.
He hopes.
Tonight?
He hopes.
That's
Okay.
how we stay married.
All right, so, questions, concerns coming up to the next? Okay, so we'll meet again on the 23rd. People that were meeting with the other proposal, with Eric's proposals, stop and see me and we'll pull that together and we'll have a good night.